Hey guys! Today we'll be recapping the Manhwa, the Duke's darling daughter-in-law. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it really helps our channel grow. Thanks. There are two powerful noble families in the empire. The first is House Schuetz, whose members are renowned as fearsome warlords. The second is House Kleider, a family of merchants that stands at the very heart of commerce. If combined, the power of these two houses would eclipse the imperial family itself. At one time, the heads of these two families were even close friends. But 10 years ago, the Duke and Duchess of House Kleider fell from a cliff and died. When Duke Schuetz learned of the accident, he rushed to the scene of his friend's death. There, he found their bodies and a child's clothes. He scoured the northern territories, but alas, he was unable to find the Duke and Duchess's missing child. Then 10 years passed. "I'll adopt this child." Now they finally meet. Duke Schuetz found the male lead, Damian. "It's just like what happened in the story," little orphan girl thinks. "I kept my promise to help him find his family, so I won't be kicked out of the orphanage." According to the story as I know it, Damian will fight alongside Duke Schuetz in the war that will break out in 4 years. Then he'll meet Ashabel, the female lead, and live happily ever after. Duke Schuetz said, "I will take the child next to him as well." Servant asked, "Will you raise her as your daughter?" Duke Schuetz, "No. She is to become my daughter-in-law." Little girl, shocked. "His daughter-in-law? What?" "I only interfered because I didn't want to end up on the streets. I can't believe he wants me to be his daughter-in-law." Servant entered. These children look quite all right to me," maid added. "Why, of course. The orphanage's first priority is the well-being of the children," servant replied. "I'll take that one." At that time, the empire had emerged victorious in a number of wars, both large and small, causing money to flow through the land in torrents. The nobles were eager to spend their wealth, to flaunt their riches and show off their spirit of generosity to the world. That was when they started adopting orphans who lost their parents in the wars. At least, that was what it seemed like they did. "Thank you, my lord," little girl thinks. "Liar! She just wants to impress the nobles. She wouldn't bother to bathe or feed us otherwise." To secure donations, the orphanage director only accepts good-looking orphans, maid said. "My word! What a pretty child. Why are you crying here? Where's your mother?" Little girl told. "I was one of those children." However, the director overlooked one crucial detail. "My mother was an infamous thief who had caused the empire quite a bit of trouble. But she was hanged when she was caught stealing from a distinguished count. Who would willingly take in the daughter of a thief? Today, I'm back at the orphanage after being abandoned by my adoptive parents for the 3rd time." "Carry me too." Okay. "Give me a moment," little girl explained. It was after I got into an accident on my way back that I realized something. This world is a story from a book. In the world I had once lived in, you could create objects and control people with a flick of the wrist. In my past life, I worked to realize the implications of this concept. My memories are hazy, but I know that I was deeply attached to the work I did. I suppose the accident wasn't all bad. It awakened the memories of my past life, after all. But there's still one thing I don't understand. Of the countless books I've read, why can I only remember what happens in this one? And yet, I still can't remember the title. Anyway, I'm just happy that I know what the future holds. Judging by the director's expression, it seems like she lost money gambling again. She must know it's a losing battle. "Why does she keep going back?" she added. "Is that kid new? Wow, how strange. He doesn't look nervous at all." Maid became furious. "Say hello to your new friend. He'll be joining you starting today. His name is Damian." Little girl thinks. "That's him. I haven't forgotten him even once since I realized I was living in a novel. He's the male lead and the future hero who defeats the emperor. Damian Kleider. That makes me the character that bullies him and gets kicked out of the orphanage. I am Ellie, one of the villains in this story." Damian, the male lead, lived a miserable and woeful life. Damian's father, Duke Kleider, was the head of the empire's foremost merchant guild. House Kleider was so influential that some said it was more essential to the empire than the imperial family itself. Eventually, the emperor grew envious of House Kleider and killed them in secret. Duke Kleider's final will and testament were written as though he had known the accident would occur. After that, it didn't take long for Duke Schuetz, the ruler of the barren, monster-infested north, and bloodthirsty killer, to become the target of much avarice. Duke Schuetz inherited the Kleider family's merchant guild. We might be distant relatives, but we're Duke Kleider's actual family. He left a will, so there's nothing we can do. I must find the child. They say he's the spitting image of his father, with black hair and blue eyes. The forest may be full of monsters, but he's definitely still alive, Ellie thinks. I knew it, even though he lived a horrible life when he was a slave. He's the main lead, so I knew he would survive, and now he's right in front of me. According to the book, he suffered a great deal, but I didn't realize it was this bad. I might be shorter than other children my age, but he's even smaller than me. Maid ordered her, make sure you tell him what he needs to know about the orphanage and its rules. The orphanage is already overflowing with kids, but she brought another? I guess we'll have less to eat now that there's another mouth to feed, huh? Carson, 13 years old, oldest in the orphanage, said, Hey, if you want to survive here, you better do everything we say. Got it? Hey, are you even listening to me? Why won't you look at me? Carson, I don't like the look in his eyes. Just his eyes? I think he looks weird all around. Why don't we knock him around a little? Ellie thinks they'll regret that. In the story, I bullied Damian alongside Carson and his friends. Eventually, I was kicked out of the orphanage and died a sad and lonely death after that. I have to stay alive in this life, no matter what. Damian said, Hey Ellie, wanna join? Ellie, nah, I don't feel like it. Damian, you always join in. What gives? Ellie, he just looks weak, that's all. Carson replied, That's true. I can already tell he's a good for nothing. You're the dirty daughter of a thief. How dare you? Get out of here. Maid entered. It's time to start preparing dinner. Everyone go to your assigned places. Ellie agreed. Yes, ma'am. Let's go, Ellie. Ellie, okay. Ellie thinks, this is when Carson will start bullying Damian. If I feign ignorance and don't interfere, then I might be able to avoid a bad ending, at least. It's none of my business. He's the main character. He'll figure it out. I should be focusing on what I'll do after I leave the orphanage. He'll survive one way or another, even if he takes a few hits along the way. I've seen so many people ruin their lives by sticking their noses in other people's business. Alright, I'll help him just this once. After this, I won't get involved in his story. Carson, oh, it's you. You scared me. I thought you were the director. Ellie asked. What are you doing here? Carson replied. Take a guess. Can't you tell? We're teaching the new kid a lesson. We gotta initiate him, somehow, right? Wanna see something funny? I thought this punk was a girl at first, but it turns out he's a boy. Isn't that weird? What kind of boy has such a pretty face? Ellie said. Why does that matter? At least he's better looking than you. Carson. What? Ellie. I'm just joking. The director said she's looking for you. Carson. We were just starting to have fun. What does that harpy want anyway? Ellie. She asked me where you were. I wouldn't wait too long. You know what she's like. Carson, angry. Hey kid, I guess today's your lucky day. Let's go. Ellie asked. Hey, are you okay? Ellie. Hey, don't do that. It'll get infected. Use this. Stolen from the director's room. It'll help with the pain. Damian. What is it? I don't need it. Damian added. They'll just beat me again before it heals anyway. So don't bother. I'll just be hit again. Resistance just leads to more violence. Surrender is the easiest way to quell violence. He's so young, but he already understands. Ellie. It's still better than nothing. Put some on later at least. Okay? Ellie thought. I already understood what Damian had gone through when I read the book. But when I look into his eyes and see how similar we look, I can't breathe, as if I have a lump in my throat. Eat your supper quietly. There is to be no chatter during mealtime. Ellie thinks, is Damian skipping supper? I don't see him. If he skips supper, he'll be starving by tomorrow. Tommy asks, Ellie, if you're not going to eat your bread, can I have it? Ellie, sorry Tommy. This one's mine. Tommy, but you're not eating it. Ellie, I'm going to. Though I don't know if he'll eat it or not. I should be helping clean the kitchen. But I'm worried about Damian. He's not in the bedroom. Where could he be besides here? Carson says. What are you doing here all by yourself? Looking for a ghost or something? Ellie thinks. It's Carson. Ellie, why would I be looking for a ghost? I was just seeing if Betty was here. Carson, is that so? Well, I know something even more fun than looking for ghosts. Ellie thinks. He's talking about Damian. Carson, his name is Damian, right? Anyway, I was eavesdropping on the director when I heard that he was a slave before he came here. Apparently, he hunted monsters in the dark all by himself. Ellie, that little brat? Give me a break. Who would believe that? Carson says. Ellie, you don't have a crush on him or something, right? Ellie thinks. Carson bullied most of the children at the orphanage, but he was especially cruel to boys I took any interest in. If he was less sadistic, then I may have considered that his behavior was a childish form of affection toward me. Ellie, not really. Anyway, I think I saw him going to the warehouse. Carson, the warehouse? Only the teachers are allowed in there. Why would he go there? Ellie, I'm not sure. Maybe they're taking special care of him. I saw him go in with the assistant teachers. There's a lot of delicious food in there, you know. Carson, like you said, Damian's really pretty. The orphanage always prizes the pretty children. You said he hunted monsters too, right? He must be gifted, Ellie says. Oh, so that's why they didn't make him clean, Carson replied. Yeah, right. He was frozen like a statue when we were roughing him up. Remember? He'd usually let something like that slide. So you think you're stronger than him? Ellie, obviously. Carson, everyone follow me. We're going to the warehouse. Carson's friend. Okay, Carson, are we gonna teach him another lesson? Ellie, Carson, wait. Take this. I brought it for you. Carson, what? Why? Ooh, Carson. Thanks, Maid shouted. Lights out, Ellie thinks. By now, Carson and his cronies. It was you, Maid shouted. You're the little thieves. Ellie, that's not true. We just heard that Damian was here. Maid, that's enough out of you. And what's that bread in your hands? Ellie, I can explain, Ellie thinks, are being chewed out. I was going to give that bread to Damian, but at least I got some use out of it. Carson is so dumb. Anyway, where in the world is Damian? Ellie thinks. I heard that he was a slave before he came here. Apparently, he hunted monsters in the dark all by himself. Oh no. He better not be there, Ellie thinks. In this story, Duke Schuetz asked Damian a question. Duke Schuetz, you're quite good with a sword. Did you ever receive swordsmanship training? Damian replied. In the dark, I had no choice but to learn how to use a sword. That's what it took to survive, Ellie thinks. When I read that sentence, I thought it was some hackneyed platitude, which implied that pain and darkness are parts of the hero's journey. You'll get sick if you stay out here. You don't want to catch a cold, right? Ellie, Carson and his friends got in trouble with the teachers, so you don't have anything to worry about today. Let's go back together. Damian, they might be in trouble now, but how long will that last? They'll be back tomorrow. I feel safer here than there, Ellie thinks. But I was wrong. Damian's life until now hadn't just been some simple tragedy. He chose to lock himself away in the darkness. That's how painful his life had been. Maybe that's also why he learned to use a sword. No one wants to live alone in the darkness like that. Ellie, no, they're not going to bother you anymore. They'll be gone soon. I promise. I'll make sure that no one hurts you. So come with me, Damian. Ellie, use this. It'll help with the pain. Damian, but why? Ellie replied. Because I want to. It's true. I really do want to help him. I don't know whether or not he will come to understand me, but I can't let myself die like I did in the original story. It's time to get going. I was so worried about you that I couldn't eat. Let's go have supper. Ellie thinks. Food. Damian didn't put up a fight, fortunately. That alone suggested that I managed to change my destiny. Ellie added, Damian, we have to be quiet now. The director and the other teachers went to the casino, but we should still be careful. All right, get undressed. Take off your clothes. You can't wear them in the bath, you know. The water in the director's bathroom is nice and warm. You're as cold as ice right now, you know that? They'll have to cut off your hands or your legs if you get frostbite. Or maybe even both. Damian, that won't work. If you don't want me to stay, then. But my body is repulsive, Ellie thinks. He was a slave before he came to the orphanage, so he's probably covered in scars. I'm sorry. You'll probably be taken aback if you see my body, so, Ellie, Damian, you're not repulsive. There is absolutely nothing that you need to feel guilty or ashamed about. Let's go. I don't know when the director will be back, so we should hurry. You can wash alone, right? Even if it's a little uncomfortable, I'll leave some clothes in front of the door for you. Bathe yourself in warm water, okay? I'll go see what I can find in the warehouse. Ellie thinks. It's so warm. All done? Did you enjoy your bath? Oh, your clothes are a little big. They were the smallest I could find. But you look cute, so maybe you should just keep them on. Anyway, take a look at what I found. I snuck this out of the warehouse while you were in the bath. Ellie asked. Huh? Have you never eaten a sandwich before? Damian replied. No, those scumbags. What did those slave merchants feed Damian all those years? Just how was he raised? Ellie, take one. Sandwiches are super delicious. You eat them like this. Like this. Yeah. Just like that. Like a puppy with chubby cheeks. I think he likes it. Even the male lead is a kid, huh? Oh, is his hair still wet? He is a child after all. Let me help. You'll catch a cold if you don't dry your hair. Ellie smiled. Oh, he's like a puppy, and it seems like he's letting his guard down a bit. Ellie's POV. Huh, those scars. It looks like he was bitten by some animal. How did you get those? Oh, these? They told me I had these scars when they picked me up. That's why my master made me grow my hair long. Ellie thinks. The book said Damian had shoulder-length hair as a child. Now I know why. I can't even imagine how cruel this fictional world was to Damian when he was young. Damian, your bangs are a little long. Don't they bother you? The same could be said of me. I bet things will be even more difficult from now on. More so because Damian's beauty isn't good for my heart. He's so much prettier than I expected, Ellie said. Damian, I think you might have a fever. Do you feel sick? He replied. No, I'm fine. I just feel a little hot, Ellie thought. I'm glad to hear that. I hope he didn't catch a cold. This is where we'll be sleeping from now on, Carson asked. Ellie, is that you? Who's that behind you? Ellie replied. Shh. Be quiet or you'll wake Betty up. There's no one else here, Tommy. Go back to sleep. Tommy, okay, Ellie thought. Good, Carson and his friends aren't here. But we should still be careful though, Ellie said. Damian, my bed is the one near the window, and yours is the one closer to the door. We're supposed to sleep separately, but this is your first night here, so we can share my bed. Damian, share your bed? Come on. I'm getting sleepy, Ellie thought. Is this his first time in a bed? It seems like he's not used to it. What's that smell? I'd bathed in the director's bathroom before, but there's nothing in there that smells like that. Oh man. I'm acting like a creep. Okay, time for bed. Sleep tight, Damian. You're not going to say goodnight? Damian replied. Sleep tight, Ellie. Ellie, goodnight, Damian. What an unusual person. He just looks weak, that's all. Is she just being nice to me because she feels guilty? Most people keep their distance from slaves though, Damian thought. They're not going to bother you anymore. They'll be gone soon. Use this. It will help with the pain. You're not repulsive. Could that be true? Am I really not repulsive? There's no way, Ellie thought. Damian. His eyes sparkled so prettily when she said that. No, I can't get my hopes up. I won't let myself. Damian felt sleepy. What are you doing? Slaves are supposed to entertain their masters. Now fight the monster. You can die for all I care. I went to great lengths to ensure your victory. Don't tell me you're giving up now. No one will come to save me. I'll die if I don't manage to kill this monster. Pull it together. I have to pull it together, if I don't. Ellie shocked. Damian! Are you okay? Did you have a nightmare? Or did you catch a cold? You don't have a fever. Oh dear, you're sweating. Are you sure you're okay? You seem sick, Damian thought. Ellie. No one has ever worried about me before, myself included. But she's being so kind to me. This won't do. I'll bring you a washcloth, Damian replied. Wait. I'm fine. I don't feel sick at all. Ellie. Really? You should still rest, Damian thought. It's strange. When I'm with Ellie, I feel warm and tingly, as if I've swallowed sunshine. Maybe I should have told her I was sick. That way, Ellie would. Damian. Hey, Ellie. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Carson shouted. That punk wasn't in the warehouse. Do you have any idea what the teachers did to me when I got caught? It's all that brat's fault, Ellie asked. Why are you blaming Damian? What? You're the idiot for falling for it. The bell just rang, which means, Ellie, how could you do that to me? A maid shouted. Just what do you think you're doing? Carson. You still haven't learned your lesson, I see. Carson, it's not what it looks like. Ellie started it. She called me an idiot. It's all her fault, Ellie. Hey. I know all of you heard her too, Carson. Oh, please. Don't be ridiculous. You're always the first to raise your fist. That's why none of the nobles have shown any interest in you, Carson insisted. You have to believe me. It's Ellie's fault that we snuck into the warehouse yesterday, the maid asked. Ellie, is that true? Ellie, Damian was really sick yesterday. He was running a fever, so I went to get some medicine for him. But Carson kept telling me that all the teachers had gone to the casino. Carson shouted. What? When did I say that? Ellie continued, but I didn't believe him. The teachers would never leave all of us children behind to go to the casino. Isn't that right? Carson thought. Well, now, for the clincher. I have to make sure she won't ask me any more questions, but I noticed something strange. Was the door to the warehouse left open last night, by any chance? Yesterday, the director sent me on an errand, so I was the last person to lock it. Ellie worried. Are you sure we'll be okay? I'm worried we'll get caught. Carson reassured her. I told you it's fine. There's nowhere better for a secret tryst than here. I'm sure I left the keys in the director's room, so there's no reason the doors should have been open. Ellie, I must have lost them. I'm so sorry. Carson, it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself, Ellie insisted. No, I was careless. It's all my fault. I'll take Carson and explain what happened to the director, the maid shouted. No! I mean, Carson, why did you tell such a horrible lie about the teachers? Something bad could have happened to Damian because of you, Carson protested. No, it's not true. I never said that. Ellie is lying, I swear, the maid scolded. Enough excuses. Follow me, Carson pleaded. It really wasn't me. Damian should be safe from him, at least for now, Ellie said. Betty and Tommy. We better get going before the director scolds us. You two should wash up and head downstairs, Tommy asked. What about you? Ellie replied. I'll be down in just a moment. Tommy. Okay, Ellie. Come join us soon, Ellie thought. Ellie, last night, the teachers definitely left. I already told you. I'll protect you from the others, no matter what. I wanted to pay them back for what they did to you, Damian requested. Protect me? Why? Grown-ups are supposed to take care of children. Though you probably haven't met a grown-up like that yet, Ellie assured him. Damian, I'm sure there's someone out there who will help you. You'll be able to count on them, Damian asked. If I do, then what happens next? Ellie smiled. You'll live happily ever after, Tommy shouted. Ellie, you have to come down quickly. The director's awake, Ellie gasped. Oh no, already? She'll yell at us if we dilly-dally for too long. What is this feeling? Carson became furious. That brat will pay for this. I'm stuck in this filthy room all by myself, thanks to him. Why in the world did Ellie take his side? She's sticking up for him like he's her little brother or something. What gives? But it won't last long. Ellie's affections will be all mine, Ellie said. Good, this ought to be enough. Damian, could you give it a stir with the ladle? Ellie thought. He's been silent for a while now. Does he still feel conflicted about the lie I told the teacher? Well, he's faced so much violence and abuse until now. He's probably not used to telling lies, so it makes sense that he's feeling a bit vexed. Damian, are you still feeling shaken about what happened earlier? Damian replied. I mean, about the lie I told. No, that's just, don't worry too much about it. If you're going to get revenge on someone, you have to do it properly. I might have lied, but that's much better than being used or made a fool of. Regardless of what your life was like until now, you can't let people take advantage of you anymore, Damian. Okay, Damian thought. No one has ever said anything like that to me before. Until now, I simply survived by obeying my master. Ellie. I won't let myself be bested by anyone ever again. And I'll protect you, just like you protected me. No matter what it takes. The maid became worried. This headache is killing me. I didn't even drink that much at the casino last night. I need to sober up, the maid thought. Damian? What's that slave doing working here? If I hadn't lost that one game. No, if I just had less to drink. I'll write off your debt, if you take care of this child until I return. I told the children that Damian was going to live with us, but the truth is that he's just a slave, and his master will be back soon enough. If Damian's master finds out that he's been working, she won't be pleased, the maid shouted. Damian, you little brat. Go back to your room. How long have you been skulking around for? Damian protested. Let go. I already told you, I did nothing wrong. Malene arrived and asked. Malene, what's going on here? Malene replied. Hello, ma'am. The teachers say that Carson has been causing a lot of trouble lately. Apparently, he even stole a loaf of bread from the warehouse. Carson shouted. It wasn't me. I didn't steal the bread. Someone gave it to me, I swear, the maid said. Enough. This isn't the first time you've been caught stealing. I can't believe you made a ruckus over such a small matter. The maid became upset. It seems he needs to be taught another lesson. Malene, take care of him for me, Malene replied. Yes, ma'am, the maid shouted. No, not like this. I won't go down alone. Damian came with me. But he got away with it, Ellie added. Damian. With Carson? That's not true. Damian didn't go to the warehouse last night. He was sick, so he stayed in the room the whole night with me. Carson shouted, "Hey, Ellie! Why do you keep lying? You're the one that told me to go to the warehouse," Ellie insisted. "Director, you know how Carson is. He's always bullying the other kids here," Carson shouted. "What are you talking about?" Ellie paused and asked. "Wait. Why do I have to go back to the orphanage?" Malene answered. "You really don't know? It's because of your sleazy mother. I mean, really. You've been returned to the orphanage over and over. I'm getting tired of having to pick you up," Ellie responded. She's never made as much as a peep since then. But now, she's defending Damian? Ellie turned to Damian. "Damian, are you okay?" Damian replied, "I'm fine." "Something is fishy," Carson shouted. "You have to believe me, director. I'm begging you." "Ellie's lying. I didn't steal the loaf of bread, I swear," the maid explained. "You're really getting on my nerves." "You handle this, Malene? And don't let the new kid work," Malene replied. "Yes, ma'am." "Little imps," Ellie said. "Go wait in the dining hall, Damian." Damian asked. "What about you?" Ellie replied. "I have to stay here and work." "Let's finish up. We're nearly done cooking. I'll be there as soon as I can." The reason that the director forbade Damian from working wasn't preferential treatment. It was because of his master, but the other children don't know that. They'll just think it's unfair. Nothing good comes from standing out. "You'll wait for me, right?" Damian thought. "Follow me, Damian." "Do you think they'll get punished? That teacher's hits really hurt. They must be scared. The last time she hit me, I'm glad the other kids don't see what's really going on. The truth is that the director just doesn't want him to do chores." "All right, I'll go get Damian after I finish up here. I hate being alone, but I don't want to make Ellie dislike me," Ellie called. "You waited for me, right? Let's eat together. Follow me." "Are you all done with your work? Then can I sit next to you?" Damian replied. "Of course. We made something delicious for everyone today," Carson shouted. "Wait. I always sit on Ellie's right," Ellie thought. "It seems like he's in better spirits now that he doesn't have to worry about Carson." Damian thought. "Who does he think he is? You can sit somewhere else for a day, right? Damian is new to the orphanage, after all," Tommy added. "But I don't wanna," Ellie encouraged. "Tommy, did you know? I heard that you can become popular if you know how to share," Tommy responded. "Oh, really? Okay, then I'll let it slide, just for today. Because I'm gonna be popular," Ellie thought. "Tommy is still just a kid." "Damian, you can sit here," Damian replied. "Okay." "He seems like a sweet kid," Malene asked. "Betty, what's wrong?" Betty cried. "Wah! I dropped my doll into the soup," Malene reassured. "Damian, Tommy, you stay here and eat. I'll be back in a moment." Malene comforted Betty. "It's okay, Betty. Your doll got a little damp, that's all. We just have to clean the part that got wet." "I'll clean your doll up for you," Tommy said. "Nice to meet you. It seems like you and Ellie are close, so maybe you and I can spend some time together too," Damian thought. He seemed shy. "I mean, I'm friends with Ellie too, so we can all play together," Ellie exclaimed. "Friends," Damian said. "Yeah, Ellie and I are best friends." "I mean, Damian, are you enjoying your meal?" Damian replied. "Yes," Ellie asked. "Is something wrong, Tommy?" Tommy said. "No, it's nothing," Damian thought. "He's not the innocent, mild-mannered boy I thought he was. He's a cold-blooded beast," Carson shouted. "Ellie, watch out. He's deceiving you." "Damian, are you done washing up?" Ellie said. "Wow. His cheeks look so soft. I want to pinch them. I want to poke his cheeks, but I shouldn't. Not when he just started opening up to me. You must feel refreshed after your shower." "Come here," Damian replied. "Okay," Ellie thought. "He's even prettier up close. His long hair must get in the way. I'd offer to cut it, but then some nobleman would probably see his face and take him away. I can't let that happen. Duke Schuetz has to be the one who adopts him. I have to hide his good looks until then," Ellie said. "Shall we head to bed?" "You can sleep in your bed tonight," Damian replied. "By myself," she added. "Yep. By yourself. Is something wrong? Is there something he wants to say?" "A lot happened today. I guess he's tired," Damian said. "Good night and sweet dreams," Ellie replied. "Sweet dreams, Damian," Ellie thought. That's the first time Damian has ever said my name. I can't believe how elated Hearing that one word made me feel, Ellie said. Thanks, Damian, Ellie thought. I have to use the toilet. Huh? Where did Damian go? Well, Betty murmured. Carson. Carson took him. Carson shouted. Do you have any idea what you put me through? Don't get full of yourself just because Ellie has been nice to you. You mean nothing to her. Ha! You think glaring at me will change anything? What are you gonna do about it, huh? Damian thought. You can't let people take advantage of you anymore. Carson continued. Ellie is just soft on good-for-nothing weaklings like you. You're just one of many. That's the only reason she took care of you. It's not like you're special or something, Damian thought. He just looks weak, Carson added. That's all. Worthless. Stupid, Damian reflected. I had heard harsh and abusive words countless times when I was a slave. I was as used to it as I was to physical violence. I'm the one that saved you. Pathetic slave. But when Carson said that I meant nothing to Ellie, loathsome, I felt my heart sink. You'll never be anything but a slave. Like I was sinking deeper and deeper beneath the currents of a river like ash in the wind. Carson continued, you should know your place. How dare a slave be so arrogant? You think we're equals because we're both at the orphanage, huh? Well, you're mistaken. Why don't you cool your head in the water for a bit? Ellie, Damian called. Ellie, Carson taunted. Ellie. Hey, Carson shouted. What do you think you're doing? Carson always threw kids he didn't like into the lake. Damian's in danger. That lake will be freezing now that it's winter. Ellie told Damian. Please be safe. Ellie shouted. Are you crazy? What do we do? I knew you were up to no good. But what the hell do you think you're doing? Carson thought about Ellie. What? How could she do this to me? Now that I think about it, she refused to join us whenever we bullied that kid, he called out. Hey, Ellie. Wanna join? Ellie replied. Nah. He was sick, so he stayed in the room the whole night with me. Carson pondered. Why is she being so nice to that brat? What makes him so special? He said. Let's head back. I'll patch you up. Carson became furious. There was a reason why I never liked that brat from the start. It's your fault that everything's been ruined. Why did it have to be you? Boys shouted. Carson. Are you okay? Can you climb up? What do we do? Ellie explained. You went too far this time. You're such a horrible person, Damian called. Damian, are you alright? He replied. Yeah, Ellie said. There's no point trying to reason with them. Let's go, Damian, Damian thought. That's the first time I've seen her get angry. Why is she so mad? Because I'm weak? Or pesky? Perhaps this is all a dream, Ellie asked. Damian, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you resist? Damian thought. I was right. She's mad because of me. I knew it. Do you pity me? Is that why you're taking care of me? Ellie inquired. What are you talking about? If that's why you're being nice to me, then you can just let me be. I'm used to this sort of treatment anyway. Damian shouted. Damian! What are you talking about? You thought I pitied you this whole time? I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I'm sorry I said you looked weak. I should have apologized back then. I don't think you're weak. I think you're stronger than anyone else out there. That's the truth, too. I hope you'll believe me, Damian replied. That's not really what I wanted to hear. I was so sure that she was going to say I'm pitiful and pathetic. But she said I'm strong. That can't be right. Not me, Ellie insisted. She helped you out because she felt bad for you. That's not a word anyone would use to describe me, Damian said. Ellie. Did I say something wrong? I thought that I was annoying you, Ellie asked. Huh? Why? Damian stammered. I don't know, Ellie said. Your eyes will sting if you keep rubbing them like that. Look at me. Don't cry. Your beautiful face is all swollen, Damian asked. Does that mean you don't hate me? Ellie replied. Why would I hate you? Damian thought. But you avoided eye contact with me, he continued. When? Me? Avoid eye contact with you, Damian said. You said that something was bad for your heart, remember? Ellie clarified. Oh, it's not good for my heart. I can explain. I didn't avoid eye contact because I hate you. There's another reason, Damian exclaimed. I knew it. Ellie, you think I'm? Ellie assured. I won't do it again, Damian asked. Really? Ellie affirmed. Yes, Pinky promise. You have my word. You trust me now, right? Damian replied. Yeah, Ellie thought. Phew, he stopped crying. Ellie declared. From now on, I'm going to hold your hand. I want to sit next to you when we eat, too. Damian agreed. Okay, we can hold hands and eat together. But I want you to promise me something, Damian. If someone tries to hurt you, you need to defend yourself. Don't let anyone treat you like you're inferior to them. And if something bothers you, ask about it right away. Don't just suffer in silence. Damian responded. Okay. Pinky promise? Ellie confirmed. Pinky promise. She asked, are you ready to head back? We should get those injuries treated. Damian thought. Ellie was telling the truth. Damian reflected. Ellie showed me what true happiness felt like. I'm sure there's someone out there who will help you. You'll be able to count on them. You'll live happily ever after. I feel so much joy, even though I'm crying. If this emotion isn't happiness, I don't know what is. That's why. I'm going to let myself be a little greedy. Duke Schuetz asked, please spare me. It looks like the information was false. What a waste of time, he instructed. Let's go, Auntie. Let's move on to the next read. All done. Now let's sleep. HM? What's wrong? Damian asked. Can I sleep with you? Ellie was shocked. With me? I keep having these scary nightmares. Our beds are small, so it'll be uncomfortable. So I can't. I suppose it's fine. It's not a difficult request. Damian, do you want to sleep on this side? Lie down, Ellie. Ellie responded. I think he's feeling better now. Even though I'm just an extra in his story, I'm glad that I could help him. It feels just like we're siblings. Don't you agree, Damian? I'm not your little brother, Damian replied. But Damian, you're 11 and I'm 13 years old, Ellie pointed out. Ellie thought to herself, oh no, is he mad? It's no surprise. Even though he's young, he's undeniably the male lead of this story. I shouldn't treat him like a kid. I was just joking, Damian. Don't be offended. To be honest, I just wanted to say that sleeping next to you is nice and warm. Oh, I think so too, Damian said softly. He's so cute, Ellie thought. Sleep tight. It's getting late. Sweet dreams, Damian. You too, Ellie. Damian! Look! You're so pretty, Damian! Ellie exclaimed. Thank you, Ellie. You've made me so happy, Damian replied. How pathetic. Did you really think you could bring me down with mere herbs? Duke Schuetz, to Auntie, I want to kill you right here and now. Auntie, my apologies, Your Grace. Did you send the child to the Saint Orphanage? Maid, yes, that's right. It was the Saint Orphanage. I will decide how to punish you later. Send a letter to the orphanage and let them know we are coming to pay a visit. Auntie, yes, Your Grace. Wait. We have to deal with those two first. Maid, what? Your Grace, please. Wait. Your Grace. Things are hard enough as it is, and now I have to deal with these sick brats? Maid, what made them think they'd be fine after soaking in a freezing lake? Maid, I can't let Duke Schuetz see the children that are dying. First, I'll give them some cheap medicine and hope they look healthy enough to show the Duke. That means I'll have to sell one of my mana stones. Duke Schuetz, as he arrives. Welcome, Your Grace. This orphanage is far from the city and completely secluded. It would be difficult to get here without horses and a carriage. They could assert that it's a good environment for children, but... Duke Schuetz, where is the director? She should have responded to my letter by now. Maid, about that. We received the news of your visit not long ago. We were slightly late in telling the director. She's coming now. It'll just be a moment. Duke Schuetz, and the child? Maid thinks, oh, the child. About that. The director swore us to secrecy, so we can't just tell him the truth. Duke Schuetz, feeling the tension. What a mess. Never mind. I'll find him myself. Auntie, I can't believe how cold it is here. That's not good for young children. Maid, I was thinking the same thing. Dispose of them promptly if they were lying about the Clyde child. Ellie, that hurt, a child? Duke Schuetz, my apologies. Can you stand? Ellie, thank you. Who are you, sirs? Auntie thinks, she doesn't even know who His Grace is. Auntie, hey kiddo. Are you here to adopt a child by any chance? Ellie, yes, that is so. Auntie, I see. The children are in the director's room. Ellie, yes. You wanted a child with black hair and blue eyes, right? All 5 of them are there. Duke Schuetz, I suppose that's where the director is too. She was hiding from us to buy time. What do you think she's playing at, Your Grace? Duke Schuetz, annoyed, I'm not sure. But knowing this has just put me in a foul mood. Maid, welcome, Your Grace. Thank you for visiting our humble orphanage. These are the children, then? Maid, yes, these are all the children with black hair and blue eyes. I believe the child you are searching for is among them. Duke Schuetz, what's wrong with the children? They don't usually cry like this. Duke Schuetz, this is not the place. Maid, what do you think, Your Grace? Duke Schuetz, I think she was lying, Auntie. Kill her. Auntie, yes, Your Grace. Maid, what? Your Grace, what do you mean? Duke Schuetz, Your Grace. Please spare me. I promise. The child you're looking for is among these 4 right here. Maid, 4? That's not what the child I ran into said. Maid, yes. You wanted a child with black hair and blue eyes, right? All 5 of them are there. 1 is missing. Duke Schuetz, shouting, What? What are you talking about? Don't feign ignorance. Where is he? Where is the child you hid from me? If you dare lie to me, you will die where you stand. Ellie thinks, judging by how noisy it is out there, Duke Schuetz must be headed here. Even though I wanted the events from the story to come true, I'm still a little sad. Still, this is best for Damian. It won't hurt anymore, Damian. Damian asks, Huh? What do you mean, Ellie? Ellie replies, her voice quivering, I promised, remember? I promised I would help you reunite with your family. Andy watches, surprised. I can't believe he's acting so emotional. I haven't seen him like this since his wife passed away. I didn't think I'd ever see him behave in such a manner again. Duke Schuetz, I had heard he was a young boy, but he's quite scrawny. She's the girl I ran into earlier. Ellie becomes confused. Damian, you shouldn't be standing. Don't you dare. Duke Schuetz, what do you think you could protect when you can't even stand straight? Damian's voice is stronger than his body. I'll make you pay if you hurt her. Duke Schuetz gladly responds. He's acting pretty fierce for such a pipsqueak. And just who do you think you are? Ellie thinks, her heart pounding. He's exactly as the book described. A man domineering beyond compare, able to intimidate those around him with ease. It really is Duke Schuetz. Auntie interjects. I already told you, Your Grace. You're more frightening than a phantom. You could try saying that with a softer expression. Did you see how the teachers all ran off? Duke Schuetz replied. I'll see to it that you're trained in rhetoric once we return to the duchy. Answer me, why are you taking me and Ellie? He explained. I'm not taking you. I'm merely returning you to where you belong. You will understand soon enough that which was meant to be yours. Right now, you're nothing more than a feral animal. But once you return to your rightful place, I suspect you will look at the world differently, with greater strength and resolve. At the very least, you'll be able to protect those whom you seek to protect. Grown-ups are even scarier and harder to trust than children. Damian hesitated, feeling a mix of emotions, but he knew he had to go. You have to go, Damian. You have to return to where you belong. He looked at Ellie. What about you? You're not coming with me? Ellie promised him. Of course I will. I promised I'd stay by your side, remember? At the very least, you'll be able to protect those whom you seek to protect. Damian's anger flared. Don't force Ellie to work for you. Duke Schuetz replied. You can't. What makes you think I'd make such a small child work? Don't worry your little head with that nonsense. Damian shouted defiantly. I'll make you pay if you ever mistreat her. Duke Schuetz thought, he's just like his father. He didn't even need a mana stone to prove his identity. Duke Schuetz was so soft and affectionate with his wife, but his disposition would change the moment he was in the presence of others. That child's every action betrays the fact that he's a Schuetz through and through. Ellie, observing the tension, exclaimed, "When did I nod off?" "Oh, Damian's asleep, too. It seems like he feels better now." "What a relief. Are we in the north now? This is so spooky. I thought we were in the middle of a battlefield. This is worse than I imagined. I guess it's true that this territory is crawling with monsters." "No. I have to put on a brave face. Did that crow understand what I just said?" "It was definitely staring at me." "No, that's impossible. We've arrived. It's huge and magnificent. There are crows here, too." "What's wrong, Ellie?" Damian asked. "Nothing," Franz greeted them. "Welcome back, Your Grace. We received word that you arrived with Lord Damian." Duke Schuetz responded. "I see. There's one detail that I forgot to include in the message, and that would be?" Franz inquired. "I brought along another child to raise as my future daughter-in-law." Franz became confused. "I see, a daughter-in-law. I beg your pardon? A detail? That seems like an understatement." He was at a loss for words when he first heard him say that, begging for an explanation with his eyes. "Well, that's just how it turned out. You should have stopped His Grace, Sir Auntie. It's not like I expect them to welcome me with open arms." A lady interjected. "You can call me Mother. You're the daughter of a thief? Why didn't you say anything?" Ellie exclaimed. "I was younger back then. Have you no shame? I felt excited to meet my new family every time. I was an utter fool. But not anymore. All I want now is to prepare for the future. I don't need a warm, accepting family. That's why I feel confident that I'll be able to shrug off whatever anyone might say. We don't have a suitable maid to serve the young lady." "You should have sent word in advance," Ellie replied. "Young lady? A maid? Excuse me. I'll be fine on my own. I won't make a fuss. I don't need anyone else's help. Back at the orphanage, I did all kinds of chores alone. I don't want them to think I'm some annoying, needy kid." Franz reassured her. "Don't worry, Your Grace. I'll see to it that this issue is dealt with immediately, sir." "Your Grace. Your vassals and distant relatives are waiting for you." "Did rumors spread in my absence?" Duke Schuetz asked. "Yes, it seems so. I suppose it makes sense that this news would attract so many busybodies." "You found Duke Schuetz's son? Duke Schuetz's expectations? Tell them I'll see them after I rest," Duke Schuetz ordered. "Franz, please show the children to their rooms." "Understood, Your Grace. Please come this way." Ellie thought, vassals and distant relatives. All of these people could pose a threat to Damian. Duke Schuetz may have adopted Damian, but they may not realize the strength of their bond. That means Damian's trials and tribulations have only just begun. I won't let anything bad happen to him. Not again. With this blue hope crystal, you'll be able to use magic. I brought it especially for you. You can go. There's something I need to talk to Miss Ellie about in private." The Viscount added. "You don't think I would try to put Miss Ellie in harm's way, do you? Well, it is a pretty gemstone. It's the same color as Damian's eyes. Stop looking at the crystal. It's not something that you deserve to see, much less covet." Ellie was startled. "Excuse me?" The Viscount continued, "But I am a generous man, so I'll allow you to fawn over it more if you like. Please return it to my maid once you are done." Confused, Ellie tried to respond. "But wait, I'll be going now." The Viscount interrupted. "I hope to see you again soon. Truth be told, His Lordship picked out that mana stone with you in mind. Would you like to look at it again?" Before Ellie could respond, Roina appeared. "Miss Ellie, it's time to go. Lord Damian has arrived as well." Ellie sighed. "I'd better hurry then." In another part of the room, May thought to herself. "No! She can't just leave. I have to wait for a chance to slip the mana stone into that brat's pocket. She won't notice because she's too dim-witted. His lordship didn't do anything strange, did he? No, he didn't, Ellie answered innocently. It's now or never. I have to slip this stone into her pocket. May's heart raced. I'll be going too, Miss Ellie. Okay, Ellie replied. In that moment, May made her move. I did it. It's in her pocket, she thought triumphantly. Miss Ellie, are you all right? Did she bump into you? Roina asked. I'm fine, really. I will be sure to teach that girl a lesson, May whispered to herself. They didn't notice, right? Roina called after her. May is waiting for you outside, so you better go. One moment, Roina interrupted, eyeing Ellie. Maybe it's because you fell, but your clothes look a little dirty. Miss? Ellie responded softly. I'm fine. I'm glad to hear it. You'll have to excuse me. I'll be off now, Roina said, leaving Ellie in thought. Later, Ellie introduced herself. Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you. My name is Ellie. The room buzzed with whispers. She doesn't even have a last name? Oh dear. I never thought Lord Damian's bride would be a commoner. What in the world is going on? Damian noticed their reactions and muttered, They're taunting Ellie. Duke Schuetz, standing beside him, replied sternly. Surely you haven't forgotten what I told you. Until you return to your rightful place, you need to remain calm and collected. The Duke looked at Damian closely. You don't look so good, Damian. It's nothing, Damian reassured him. Your Grace, the Duke said. You'll have to excuse me, but there's something I was hoping to show you. It must be a matter of great importance if you're bringing it up now instead of at a meeting. Yes, the Duke confirmed. It's about the blue hope crystal I mentioned to you the other day. I've just finished polishing it, so I was wondering if you could take a look now. Fine, bring it to me. Present it to His Grace. My lord, May said urgently. There's something I need to tell you. But before she could continue, the Viscount interrupted. What? What are you saying? What's this all about? May struggled to speak. The blue hope crystal I had intended to give you, it's gone. The room froze. The blue hope crystal disappeared? Who last had it in their possession? I did, May admitted. How could you be so careless? Who was the last person that touched it? The Viscount snapped. To be honest, I had shown it to Miss Ellie earlier, but she didn't return it to me. You mean when I went to greet her? Yes, when you showed her the mana stone, May replied. How could something so precious just disappear? The Viscount stepped forward, his voice low. I'm sorry to say this, Your Grace, but I recently heard something rather disturbing. I'm sure you all know the story of the thief who broke into Count Lachenal's manor. The room became tense. Miss Ellie, no, this child's mother was that ignoble thief. What? Someone gasped. She's the daughter of the thief that broke into Count Lachenal's home? Your Grace, we cannot simply sweep this under the rug. The Viscount pressed. I knew he was up to something when he brought up the blue hope crystal. Anyway, if you would allow it, I was hoping to search that girl for the stone. Ellie became shocked, her voice trembling. Excuse me. The Viscount spoke urgently. If you would allow it, I was hoping to search that girl for the stone. I entreat you, Your Grace. Ellie, surprised, quickly defended herself. While it's true that my mother was a thief, I didn't take anything, I swear. The Viscount remained insistent. We're merely asking to check. After a brief pause, Damian agreed. All right. But Ellie, determined, added, But if you don't find it, I want an apology. The Viscount nodded, turning to Damian. Your Grace, please allow me to search the child. Damian replied sternly. Why are you asking me? She already agreed to it. Thank you, the Viscount muttered. As May began searching, her heart pounded. Just a moment. It's not there, she exclaimed, baffled. Of course it's… Wait, what? She stammered. What are you talking about? The Viscount demanded, his patience wearing thin. Are you sure you looked carefully? Yes, my lord, May replied, trembling. The Viscount, furious, pushed her aside. Step aside! I'll find it myself. But after a thorough search, even he came up empty-handed. It's not here, he muttered in disbelief. The onlookers murmured. So she didn't steal the crystal after all? But Viscount Corbeau seemed so sure. The Viscount, now enraged, shouted, Wretched brat! Where did you hide it? Tell the truth. Damian, growing more concerned, softly called out, Ellie. But before he could intervene, Duke Schuetz stepped forward, his voice firm. I can't bear to watch this ridiculous scene go on any longer. Ellie looked up in surprise, thinking, I didn't think the Duke would come to my rescue. The Duke continued, It seems to me that your little tricks are far more wretched. What do you think? Am I wrong? The Viscount stammered, That's not true, Your Grace. I was simply concerned on your behalf. The Duke, unimpressed, replied, It's obvious what's going on here. Do you not find this girl to be the least bit suspicious? The Viscount, feeling the weight of the accusation, hesitated. The Duke's voice turned colder. Now you're making sense. I do see what's going on, and I'd be right to suspect you. The tension in the room heightened as the Duke called out. Auntie. His loyal servant replied promptly. Yes, Your Grace. The Duke commanded. Pardon me, my lord. Fine, go ahead and look. I have nothing to hide. Auntie, methodical and calm, searched carefully. Your Grace, he announced, holding the stone aloft. I found the blue hope crystal in the Viscount's pocket. Gasps filled the room. The Viscount's face turned pale. What was that doing in there? He stammered, panicking. Your Grace, I have no idea what's going on here, I swear. You have to believe me. I'm innocent, Your Grace. Ellie, reflecting on the situation, thought it's a good thing the blue hope crystal is so light. Let's rewind. I'll explain what happened. As the daughter of a thief, I was able to catch on quickly to the maid's ploy. My pocket suddenly felt heavy. I stealthily removed the blue hope crystal that the maid had planted on me and returned it to the Viscount's pocket. She smiled to herself. You shouldn't play such childish games. Luckily, both the Viscount and his maid were super predictable. The north is a very cold place, so I guess right that their clothes were nice and thick. That's why they couldn't feel the crystal. Duke Schuetz's voice rang out, cutting through the tension. Viscount Corbeau. The Viscount, trembling, replied, Your Grace. The Duke's gaze was sharp. It seems to me that you should pay the price for such deception. Take him away, Auntie. And his maid, too. The Viscount fell to his knees, pleading. Your Grace. Please spare me. I was wrong. Ellie, watching the scene unfold, felt a pang of confusion. Even though he was a bad person, it's hard to watch someone face such an end. But I wouldn't have been able to protect us otherwise. Duke Schuetz turned to Ellie and spoke softly. Ellie, you remember the condition you asked of them, right? Ellie nodded. Yes, I asked them to apologize. The Duke raised his voice so all could hear. You heard her. You have ears, no? The Viscount and his maid, now broken, stammered. We're sorry. Please forgive us. Have mercy on us, please. We were discourteous to you, miss. The Duke, maintaining his composure, remarked. Under normal circumstances, I would have immediately punished you, but seeing as Auntie is elsewhere, let's revisit this after the meeting. The Viscount and his maid bowed deeply. Thank you for your generosity. Duke Schuetz motioned to the rest of the room. The others may take a seat. They responded quickly. Thank you, Your Grace. Ellie and Damian, still shaken, sat down as well. You two sit too, the Duke commanded gently. Okay, Ellie whispered. The Duke cleared his throat, returning to the serious matter at hand. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. As I previously mentioned, I will have these two children married. The Viscount, still trembling, interrupted weakly. Excuse me, Your Grace. It's forbidden for a noble to marry a commoner. Duke Schuetz met his gaze and replied firmly. I'm aware of that. That's why I've called you here today. I need to find a family that will adopt Ellie as their daughter. Ellie, still processing everything, spoke up softly. Now, which of you would like to adopt me? Whispers rippled through the room. One noble scoffed. Just what kind of noble family would want the daughter of a thief? Ivana hesitates, unsure how to proceed as the room falls silent. Ivana. Well, it's regarding the Baroness, Your Grace. Her condition has worsened. Baron Amanta's face tightens as he rises from his seat, a look of concern overtaking his features. Baron Amanta. I must take my leave at once. Please excuse me, Your Grace. Duke Schuetz. Of course. Take care of your family, Baron. As Baron Amanta leaves, Ellie watches him intently, her mind racing. Ellie thinking, Amanta, why does that name sound so familiar? Could it be? She quickly pieces it together, the mine. Ellie's eyes widen as the realization dawns on her. Ellie thinking, Baron Amanta. He owns a small mine now, but later, that mine becomes incredibly valuable. Damian will use a sword forged from minerals found there to win a great battle. This is my chance. Ellie speaks up, her voice steady despite her nerves. Ellie. Your Grace, if I may. Duke Schuetz glances at her, curiosity in his gaze. Ellie. I would like to be adopted by Baron Amanta. The room falls silent again, stunned by her bold request. Duke Schuetz. Are you sure, Ellie? The Baron will be difficult to convince, and his situation is not an easy one. Ellie. I am sure, Your Grace. I believe I can make it work. Duke Schuetz's lips curl into a slight smile, clearly impressed by her determination. Duke Schuetz. Very well. But let me warn you, Ellie, Baron Amanta is no fool. Your tricks might have worked on others, but they won't work on him. Ellie nods, undeterred. Ellie thinking, I'll show him. I'll prove my worth. As the conversation shifts, Ellie notices Damian's confused expression. She approaches him. Ellie. Damian, I'm going to be adopted by Baron Amanta. Damian's eyes widen in shock. Damian. Adopted? Does that mean you'll leave? Ellie shakes her head, giving him a reassuring smile. Ellie. No. I'll still be here with you. I'm just taking the Amanta name. I promised, remember? Damian's expression softens, relief washing over him. Damian. Okay. I'm glad. Ellie watches Damian, her heart warming at how far they've come. But before she can say more, Duke Schuetz's voice echoes from across the room. Duke Schuetz. Now that the matter of Ellie's adoption is settled, let us return to the main issue at hand. Suddenly, there's a loud crash from outside. Ellie and Damian's heads snap toward the sound, tension immediately filling the air. Ellie thinking, what was that? Could it be one of Viscount Corbeau's vassals? Damian steps closer to her, his eyes wide with worry. Ellie thinking, it's just the two of us. What do we do now? Damian. Ellie, watch out. Before she can react, something lunges toward them from the shadows. Damian looks at Ellie, his eyes wide with surprise at the sudden decision. He hesitates for a moment, then speaks softly. Damian. What do I think? I think you're really brave, Ellie. Ellie smiles at his response, but there's a hint of uncertainty in her eyes. Ellie. Brave? I don't know about that. I'm just trying to find a place where I can belong. Damian steps closer, his voice more determined now. Damian. You will. I know you will. Baron Amanta will see it too. Duke Schuetz, watching the exchange, crosses his arms and gives a slight nod. Duke Schuetz. Ellie, if you are resolved in this, then go. But remember, Baron Amanta will not be easily swayed by mere words. He values action. You'll need to show him your worth, not just tell him. Ellie clenches her fists, determination taking root. Ellie. I will, Your Grace. I'll make him see that I'm more than just an orphan. I'll prove that I can be useful to him. Duke Schuetz gives her a final look, then gestures toward the door. Duke Schuetz. Very well. Go with Ivana and tell the Baron what you've decided. Ellie nods and turns to Damian. Ellie, I'll be back soon. Stay safe. Damian watches her leave, a worried look crossing his face. He whispers quietly as she goes. Damian, good luck, Ellie. As Ellie and Ivana step outside, the chill in the air grows heavier, and Ellie's mind races with thoughts of what she'll say to the Baron. Ellie thinking, Baron Amanta. If I can just convince him, then maybe, just maybe, I can have a future where I'm not just surviving, but thriving. For me, and for Damian. With her head held high, Ellie prepares to face her uncertain future. Damian laughs, the sound light and carefree as he gets caught by Ellie. Damian, you found me so fast. You're really good at this, Ellie. Ellie smiles, her heart feeling a little lighter after seeing Damian so happy. Ellie, I've had a lot of practice. Now it's your turn. You hide and I'll count. Damian nods excitedly, his eyes sparkling. Damian, okay. One more round. As Damian runs off to hide, Ellie stands by the greenhouse, counting aloud and glancing around the lush surroundings. The flowers, the crisp air, everything seems so peaceful for once. Ellie thinking, this might be one of the last carefree moments we have before everything changes. I just hope that wherever I end up, Damian will be safe and happy here. She reaches the end of her count and begins her search, moving quietly through the greenhouse. After a few minutes, she spots Damian's small figure crouched behind some large plants. Ellie, found you again, Damian! Damian pops up, laughing, his joy contagious. Damian, you're way too good at this. They both sit down on a nearby bench, catching their breath and watching the flowers sway gently in the breeze. Damian, Ellie, are you nervous about being adopted? Ellie looks at him, her expression softening. Ellie, a little. But I know it's something I have to do. And besides, I'll still be close. I'll make sure we can still spend time together, no matter what. Damian nods, understanding in his eyes, but a bit of sadness, too. Damian, as long as you're happy, Ellie. I'll always be here. Ellie smiles, grateful for Damian's friendship and his quiet strength. She reaches out and takes his hand gently. Ellie, and I'll always be here for you, too. Ellie's heart races as she spots a shadow moving swiftly just outside the greenhouse, near where Damian was standing. Her instincts kick in, and without thinking, she lunges toward him. Ellie, Damian! Watch out! She throws herself in front of him just as a figure bursts through the greenhouse door, a low, menacing growl rumbling in the air. The figure moves fast, too fast for Ellie to make out any details, but its intentions are clear. Damian freezes, his eyes wide with shock and fear. Damian! Ellie! Just as the figure reaches them, Ellie grabs Damian's hand and yanks him out of the way, sending them both tumbling to the ground. The intruder slashes at the air where they stood moments ago, narrowly missing them. Ellie gasps for breath, her body tense with adrenaline. She pulls Damian close, shielding him with her own body as she glances around, searching for an escape route. Ellie thinking, what do I do? I can't fight whoever this is, and there's no one around to help us. Suddenly, a sharp whistle pierces the air, echoing through the greenhouse. The figure falters, turning its head toward the sound. Ellie, whispering, Damian, when I say go, you run back to the estate as fast as you can, okay? Damian nods shakily, his hand gripping hers tightly. Ellie waits, her pulse racing, and when the intruder turns fully toward the sound of the whistle, she seizes the moment. Ellie, go, Damian! Now! They both scramble to their feet and dash toward the estate, the figure hot on their heels. The whistle sounds again, this time much closer, and just as the figure is about to catch up to them, a second figure appears in the greenhouse doorway, a tall, imposing man with a sword drawn. Duke Schuetz. Duke Schuetz. Get behind me, both of you! Without hesitation, Ellie pulls Damian behind the Duke as he steps forward, sword gleaming in the dim light. The intruder hesitates, clearly recognizing the Duke's presence, and then, with a low growl, turns and disappears into the shadows. Damian clings to Ellie, still trembling from the close call. Damian. Ellie, are you okay? Ellie nods, though her heart is still pounding. Ellie. Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks to the Duke. Duke Schuetz glances at her, his expression unreadable. Duke Schuetz. You both did well to run. Let's get back inside where it's safe. As they make their way back to the estate, Ellie can't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary attack. Someone had been watching them. Ellie's heart sank as Baron Amanta glared at her, his sharp words hanging in the air. Baron Amanta. I'm not sure what you're up to, but you'd better not use my wife's suffering for your own gain. Ellie blinked, stunned by the accusation. She had only been trying to help, and now this nobleman thought she had ulterior motives? Before she could find the right words to respond, Damian stepped forward, his voice firm despite his young age. Damian. Don't speak poorly of Ellie. She was only helping the Baroness because she was lost and cold. Ellie's heart swelled with gratitude as Damian defended her. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, silently thanking him for his support. Ellie. Baron Amanta, I assure you, I had no ill intentions. Your wife seemed lost and unwell, and I couldn't just leave her out in the cold. The Baron's expression softened slightly as he glanced at Vieira, who was still trembling, her face pale and distant. He knelt beside her, taking her hands in his own, his voice lowering as he spoke. Baron Amanta. Vieira, you should have stayed at the estate. It's dangerous for you to wander like this. Vieira. I don't know why I was there. I'm sorry, Marvin. Seeing the Baroness so vulnerable made the Baron's harsh demeanor melt away. He looked back at Ellie and Damian, his tone now more controlled, though still wary. Baron Amanta. I may have spoken out of turn. Thank you for looking after her. Ellie nodded, relieved that the tension was easing. Ellie. It's no trouble. I just wanted to make sure she was safe. As the Baron helped Vieira to her feet, she looked at Ellie with a faint, confused smile. Vieira. Ellie, was it? Thank you. The flowers, they were beautiful. Ellie smiled warmly, glad to see the Baroness remembering something positive from their brief encounter. Baron Amanta. Come, Vieira. We'll get you back to the estate. As the Baroness leaned on him, the Baron gave Ellie one last, curt nod before guiding his wife away. Once they were out of sight, Damian turned to Ellie, his face full of concern. Damian. Do you think the Baroness will be okay? Ellie sighed, glancing in the direction they had left. Ellie. I hope so. But it seems like she's been struggling for a while. A chill breeze swept through the greenhouse, and Ellie shivered, realizing how strange and unsettling the whole situation had been. Ellie thinking, Baroness Amanta, she's not just anyone. Why was she out there alone? And why did Baron Amanta seem so guarded? She looked down at Damian, who was still watching her with wide eyes, and she forced a smile. Ellie. Come on, let's head back inside before it gets any colder. Ivana must be wondering where we are. Ellie's heart sank at Ivana's question, unsure of how to respond. She had hoped that the encounter with Baron Amanta would lead to a positive outcome, but now it felt as if everything had crumbled around them. Ellie. Not exactly. The Baron just needs some time to understand everything. Damian glanced at Ellie, concern etched on his face. Damian. He was really mean to you, Ellie. And he doesn't seem to understand how great you are. How can he be so blind? Ellie smiled, appreciating his loyalty, but she also felt the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Ellie. I know it's frustrating, Damian. But sometimes people need time to see things differently. We can't rush him. Ivana stepped closer, her expression softening. Ivana. I know it's tough. The Baron can be difficult, but he has his reasons. You both have shown great kindness, and that might change his mind in the future. Ellie nodded, wanting to believe Ivana's words. Ellie. Right. We just have to be patient. Damian frowned, still not satisfied. Damian. But what if he never sees it? I don't want you to feel sad. You deserve to be happy. Ellie crouched down to Damian's level, meeting his gaze with warmth. Ellie. And I will be happy, no matter what. Just having you as a friend is enough for me. Damian's eyes brightened at her words, but the worry still lingered in his expression. Damian. Okay, but if he hurts you again Ellie cut him off gently, not wanting to see him get worked up again. Ellie. Promise me you won't confront him. I don't want you to get into trouble because of me. Before Damian could respond, Ivana stepped in. Ivana. Why don't we focus on something fun instead? Perhaps a game or exploring the estate could lift our spirits. Ellie's face lit up at the suggestion. Ellie. That sounds like a great idea. What do you think, Damian? Damian considered it, his brow furrowed, but he nodded slowly. Damian. All right, if it makes you happy, I'll join. Ivana smiled, sensing the change in mood. Ivana. Then it's settled. Let's go see what the estate has to offer. There might be hidden corners we've never explored before. As they walked, Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that the day had taken a turn she hadn't expected. Ellie thinking, I'll find a way to show Baron Amanta my worth. I won't let his initial rejection define me. As the weight of the Baron's words hung in the air, Ivana exchanged concerned glances with Ellie and Damian. Ivana. It seems there's more to the Baroness's condition than we realized. Perhaps she needs more understanding than we've given her. Ellie nodded, her heart heavy with sympathy for the Baroness. Ellie. She seemed lost, but she also seemed hopeful. I can't help but think that if we can show her kindness, it might help her remember more. Damian, still processing the information, frowned. Damian. But what if she gets scared again? Ivana said we should avoid her. Ellie. I think that's because they're worried about her reactions. But if we approach her carefully, we might help instead of harm. Ivana, sensing their resolve, took a deep breath. Ivana. I admire your courage, but we must be cautious. The Baron is protective of his wife, and it's clear that her condition is distressing for him. We don't want to add to their troubles. Ellie, her determination strong, replied. Ellie. I understand, but I believe we can bring a little light into her life. If she remembered anything, even a little joy, it could help her. Damian. But what if it backfires? What if she forgets us again? Ellie placed a reassuring hand on Damian's shoulder. Ellie. We can always be patient, and if she doesn't remember today, maybe tomorrow will be different. Kindness can have a powerful effect. Ivana, after a moment of contemplation, agreed. Ivana. All right, we can try it your way. But let's have a plan. If she seems agitated, we should step back. It's important to keep everyone safe. As they spoke, the Baron's voice carried from the other side of the room, laden with worry. Baron Amanta. I should have been more vigilant. I can't lose her, not when I've waited so long for her to be happy again. Ellie, inspired by the Baron's devotion, felt her heart swell with purpose. Ellie. Maybe we can help him, too. If we can bring the Baroness some happiness, it might ease his burden as well. Damian, still skeptical but trusting Ellie's judgment, nodded slowly. Damian. Okay, but we'll be careful. Baron Amanta, his voice steady but laced with regret, addressed Damian and Ellie directly. Baron Amanta. I want to thank you for your kindness toward Viera. It seems she has found joy in your presence, and for that I am grateful. Viera, her smile brightening, turned to Damian with gentle eyes. Viera. Your bravery is inspiring, dear child. I felt warmth in your heart. You remind me of the joy I once knew. Damian, still taken aback by the sudden shift, hesitated. Damian. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just wanted to protect Ellie. Viera. And I appreciate that. But it's important to understand that sometimes, kindness can bridge the gap that misunderstanding creates. As Marvin watched the exchange, he saw hope blossoming. Marvin. I can see the bond forming here. Perhaps we all have lessons to learn from one another. Ellie, feeling the weight of the moment, chimed in. Ellie. We all want what's best for each other. Maybe if we can work together, we can help everyone feel more at ease. The Baroness deserves our patience and love. Baron Amanta. Yes, and I realized that my frustration blinded me to Vieira's needs. I had hoped to protect her, but instead, I only added to her burdens. Damian, still uncertain, furrowed his brow. Damian. But how do we help her? What if she forgets us again? Vieira placed a hand on Damian's shoulder, her touch gentle and reassuring. Vieira. Just by being here, by showing your kindness, you are already helping. Sometimes, small gestures have the most profound effects. Marvin interjected, his tone encouraging. Marvin. Perhaps we can create a routine for her, something familiar and comforting. That way, when she does lapse, she'll have something to hold on to. Ellie. We can have activities she enjoyed before. Painting, storytelling, whatever might remind her of happier times. The Baron nodded thoughtfully, his expression softening. Baron Amanta. That's a brilliant idea. I want Vieira to feel safe and loved, and perhaps a routine can help her navigate the fog of her memories. Vieira smiled warmly at the suggestion. Vieira. I would love that. The thought of sharing those moments with you fills me with joy. Damian, finally relaxing a bit, managed a shy smile. Damian. Okay, we can try that. Just promise to be patient with us, too. Vieira. Of course, dear one. We will learn together. With newfound hope in their hearts, the group began to forge a path toward healing and understanding. Marvin. Then it's settled. We'll plan for tomorrow. I can help with the activities, and we can create a welcoming atmosphere for Vieira. Ellie. Yes. Together, we can help the Baron and Baroness find their way back to each other. As they discussed plans, a sense of camaraderie blossomed among them. Despite the challenges ahead, the bonds being forged felt strong enough to withstand the trials they would face. In that moment, the castle felt a little brighter, filled with the promise of healing and connection. Baron Amanta, feeling lighter, looked around at the group with gratitude. Baron Amanta. Thank you, all of you. I didn't expect to find such kindness here. You've brought light into our lives. Ellie. I never thought I would have a chance to befriend someone like you, Lady Vieira. I thought my life would always be in the orphanage. Vieira smiled softly, touched by Ellie's enthusiasm. Vieira. And I never expected to find such a kind spirit in someone so young. You've brought light into my life at a time when I needed it most. As they continued their walk, Vieira sensed the girl's curiosity. Vieira. You mentioned that His Grace got rid of all the teachers. What do you mean by that? Ellie, her eyes wide with excitement, explained further. Ellie. They were really mean. They never cared about us. But when Duke Schuetz found out how they treated us, he made sure they were gone. It was like a dream. We felt free to be ourselves. Vieira nodded, impressed. Vieira. He must truly care about you all. That speaks volumes about his character. It's rare for someone to go to such lengths for others. Ellie. Yes. And he's not just nice, he's brave too. Like the time he fought off those bandits trying to raid the orphanage. He stood right in front of us, sword drawn. Vieira's expression turned serious. Vieira. I've heard about the bandit raids. It must have been frightening for you. Ellie nodded, her tone turning somber. Ellie. It was. But he protected us. That's why I want to be friends with you, Lady Vieira. I want to be strong like him and help others too. Vieira felt a swell of pride and affection for the girl. Vieira. You have that strength within you, Ellie. It takes great courage to face challenges, and you already show that every day. Friendship can be a powerful force for good. As they strolled deeper into the garden, Ellie's expression grew contemplative. Ellie. What was the war about? You said it was because of the prophecy? Vieira paused, considering how much to share. Vieira. Yes, the prophecy spoke of a mystical power. Many believed that the life force from the world tree would bring prosperity to our empire. The tribes who lived near the tree had access to powerful magic. But when the tree began to wither, fear and suspicion arose. Ellie listened intently, her eyes wide with intrigue. Ellie. And the tribes, they were blamed? Vieira. Correct. The Empire accused them of hiding the truth about the world tree's decline, even though they had been its protectors. This led to conflict, and many innocent lives were lost. Ellie looked down, her heart heavy with the weight of Viera's words. Ellie, that's so sad. I can't imagine fighting over something like that. Viera nodded solemnly. Viera, it is tragic. The war changed many lives, including my own. Duke Cliver and Duke Schuetz fought side by side, forming a bond that would last a lifetime. In the end, the Empire emerged victorious, but at what cost, Ellie? But now that things are better, do you think there's still a way to heal the wounds from the past? Viera's gaze softened as she considered Ellie's question. Viera, healing takes time and understanding. Perhaps by nurturing friendships and compassion, we can build a brighter future, one where all voices are heard and valued. Ellie smiled brightly, inspired by Viera's words. Ellie, we can start with us. I'll be your friend, and we'll make sure everyone feels happy and safe. Viera chuckled softly, her heart warming. Viera, yes, together we can make a difference, one step at a time. Viera glanced at Ellie, her heart warming at the girl's excitement. Viera, I suppose you could visit, but it may not be the most fun place for a child. Minds can be dark and noisy, and there's a lot of work involved. Ellie, but I want to see where the magic happens. Maybe I could help. I can be strong like Duke Schuetz. Viera chuckled softly, impressed by Ellie's determination. Viera, well, that's the spirit. I'm sure you could help in some small way, but you should also be cautious. It can be dangerous, and I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Ellie nodded eagerly, her imagination already painting pictures of grand adventures in the mind. Ellie, I'll be careful. I promise. Maybe I could learn something about the oars and how they're turned into swords. Like the one Duke Schuetz is making for Damian. Viera smiled, recalling the look of determination on Duke Schuetz's face when he had spoken of forging a sword worthy of Damian. Viera, that would be a wonderful opportunity for you. Learning about the craft of forging could teach you a lot about patience and skill. As they continued their walk, Viera felt a sense of pride for the little girl who had so quickly become a bright light in their lives. Viera, you know, Ellie, I think there's a bit of magic in the world beyond just the magic of the tribes. There's also the magic of kindness and friendship, and you embody that perfectly. Ellie beamed at Viera's words, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Ellie, thank you, Lady Viera. I want to spread that magic everywhere. Just like Lady Yuria did for Duke Schuetz. Viera nodded, reminded of the powerful love that could transcend even the darkest of curses. Viera, exactly. Love can heal wounds that seem impossible to mend. It seems you've already made a mark on our lives, Ellie. Suddenly, a thought crossed Ellie's mind, and she turned to Viera with a curious expression. Ellie, do you think I could ever learn magic? Like Lady Yuria? Viera pondered for a moment, her mind racing with the possibilities. Viera, well, learning magic isn't as simple as one might think. It requires understanding and respect for nature, as well as hard work and dedication. But if you're truly interested, I'm sure we could find a way to help you learn. Ellie's eyes lit up with excitement. Ellie, I want to learn everything. I'll work hard, I promise. As they reached a small clearing in the garden filled with vibrant flowers, Viera stopped and turned to Ellie. Viera, then let's start by exploring the magic of nature itself. The flowers, the trees, the earth, there's magic all around us if we know how to look for it. Ellie crouched down to examine a delicate flower, her fingers gently tracing its petals. Ellie, it's so beautiful. I can feel the magic already. Viera smiled, her heart swelling with pride and hope for the future. Viera, yes, and with your spirit, I have no doubt you'll find a way to weave your own magic into the world. Ellie looked up at Viera, determination shining in her eyes. Ellie, I promise I will. I'll make everyone proud, especially Duke Schuetz. Viera reached out, placing a gentle hand on Ellie's shoulder. Viera, I believe in you, dear Ellie. Together, we will create a future filled with kindness and love, just like the stories we cherish. Jared Amanta paced restlessly in the mine, his mind racing with the weight of expectations. Jared, I need results and fast. How could I refine this? At this rate, I won't be able to make my ailing mother happy, nor will I receive recognition from my father. Father will be disappointed if I'm not of use to him. He sighed heavily, trying to push aside his worries. Baron Amanta entered the cavern, eyebrows raised at Jarrett's troubled demeanor. Baron Amanta. Why do you keep sighing? What brings you here, my lord? Jarrett. Do I need a reason to come to my own mine? Baron Amanta. So, did you find out more about that or? Jarrett. My apologies. I have not. Baron Amanta. You need not be so hasty. Take your time, Jarrett. No. I'll do my best to make you proud, my lord. Do not worry, Baron Amanta. So be it. Spare no effort then. Just then, Ellie stumbled into the chamber, wincing at the unexpected noise. Ellie. Ow, that hurt, Baron Amanta. Miss Ellie? What brings you here? And you as well, Viara. Good day, my lord. I knew you wouldn't be pleased, but I wanted to visit with Miss Ellie. Baron Amanta. What? Honestly, you know there are a lot of dangerous tools here, Ellie. Wow. What's that blue thing behind you? Some kind of weapon? Wow, it's so sparkly. May I touch the sword? Please, Jared Amanta thought. This is the girl that His Grace brought to be Lord Damian's future wife? She's much smaller than I expected. Swords can be dangerous. You better not. Ellie. Okay, I understand. I'm sorry I pestered you. Swords can be dangerous, Jared Amanta. So allow me to show you something else. Ellie perked up, her curiosity piqued. Ellie. Really? Wait, Jared retrieved a small, intricate monocle from a nearby shelf. Jared Amanta. It's a monocle that uses the power of a mana stone. Take it, and hold it to your eye like this, Ellie. I'm getting dizzy, Jared. Try closing one eye, Ellie. Like this, Jared? Yes, that's right, Viara murmured to herself, a smile creeping onto her face. Viara. Goodness. This must be what it's like to have a granddaughter, Ellie. Wow, this is so neat. Isn't that right, Marvin? Jared Amanta. Huh? What's all this, Jared Amanta? Don't touch those, Ellie. Why not, Jared Amanta? That's a collection of unique ores that we recently discovered. Body heat makes them harden immediately, and once stuck, it's impossible to get them off. They emit a strange substance, too. Ellie stepped back, a mix of awe and caution in her eyes. Ellie. Wow, that sounds kind of dangerous. But also really cool, Viara. Ellie, let's be mindful of our surroundings. Jared is right, we must be careful. Ellie nodded, her excitement tempered by the warning. Ellie. Okay, I promise to be careful. I just love learning about all these amazing things. Jared watched as Ellie's face lit up with fascination. For a moment, the burdens of expectation and disappointment faded, replaced by the joy of sharing knowledge. Jared Amanta. Then let's make sure you learn safely. There's a lot to discover here, and if you're careful, you might just become quite the scholar one day. Ellie beamed at him, her eyes sparkling with determination. Ellie. I will. Thank you for teaching me, Lord Amanta. Viara smiled warmly, sensing the bond forming between them. Viara. Yes, Ellie, the world is full of magic, and you have a wonderful spirit to explore it. Just remember that every great adventure begins with a single step. Ellie stood in the dim light of the mine, her eyes wide with excitement and trepidation. Ellie. Just like a monster. Have you ever seen a monster before? As her words hung in the air, she felt a pang of nostalgia. Ellie remembered. I haven't, but Damian has. He encountered monsters before he came to Schuetz Castle. He said they were really frightening. Once they grab you, they don't let go. Meanwhile, in the next chamber, sat with a frown, his lessons temporarily forgotten. What's wrong? He squinted into the shadows, feeling as though someone had just called his name. That's true. Once they grab you, they never let go. Back in the main cavern, Jared Amanta paused, his brow furrowing in thought. Jared Amanta. Wait. I think I saw something similar when I was young. Duke Schuetz's voice echoed in the distance, firm and commanding. Duke Schuetz. Return to the castle once you've made sure there are no remains of monsters in the rubble. Jared Amanta. Yes, sir. He scanned the mine, his eyes landing on a glimmering object embedded in the rock. Jared Amanta. Wow, there are even crystals here. I'd better bring it back too. Suddenly, Baron Amanta shouted, a note of alarm in his voice. Baron Amanta. Stop! Don't touch that. That's a rare monster with special properties. Jared. What? A monster? Baron Amanta. Yes. It looks like a sparkly gem on the outside. Jared. But it looks so beautiful. Baron Amanta. Yes. It looks like a sparkly gem on the outside. But you won't be able to remove it the moment it sticks to you. It might look pretty, but it will dig into a person's flesh. It's a monster, I'm telling you. As Ellie listened, her mind raced with implications. Ellie thought, now they've figured out that this mine is a monster's den. Next, they'll start using the monsters to make weapons. For the time being, it's not possible to feel the full power of the toxin if it only touches your skin for a moment. But if you touch it for a long time, it enters your body and becomes a terrible and deadly weapon. It's strange to think that someone thought of using monsters for weapons. They're definitely vassals of Duke Schuetz, that's for sure. Anyway, it seems like things are happening 3 years earlier than they did in the book. Viera broke through her thoughts, looking concerned. Viera. Shall we head back now, Miss Ellie? Ellie. Pardon? But we didn't even talk that much today, Viera. This was enough. You did something wonderful, Miss Ellie. For my son, my husband, and for me as well. We better head back before it gets dark. His Grace will worry otherwise, Ellie. All right, Lady Amanta. Duke, that reminds me. His Lordship, Baron Amanta, sent this for you. He held up a sleek arrow, glistening under the candlelight. Duke, an arrow? Servant, yes, he said that he made it out of the ore he recently discovered. Duke, what kind of ore? Servant, Mundian. To make a weapon out of a monster, it's quite impressive, really. Duke, I see. I had wondered if he was at loose ends because of his wife, but he managed to produce something after all. Servant, still, a sword would have been better than an arrow. Duke, this is merely the beginning. He'll continue developing new weapons with time. Servant, in any event, I understand now why you decided to take Miss Ellie under your wing. Duke, Servant, these discoveries were all made possible by Miss Ellie. Duke, made possible by that child. Servant, indeed, it may have seemed like an overreaction on her part, but he realized the ore was a monster thanks to her. The Duke leaned forward, intrigued. Duke, eek, just like a monster. Servant, she's a very wise young girl. Duke, the reason I took Ellie with me is because I suspected some connection between her and the Emperor. Servant, she may be young, but she's bold and incredibly clever. Thus, it's highly possible that she is somehow involved with the imperial family. They could be using her to train Damian to submit to them. Duke, moreover, the death of Clyder and his wife was no mere accident. That's why I thought it would be to my advantage to keep the child close, in case she slipped up and accidentally revealed information about the Emperor. He fell silent, lost in thought, a cloud of concern gathering over his expression. Duke, that's what I thought anyway. What if the child has some connection with the Emperor? Why does that speculation alone put me into such a foul mood? Ellie, Miss Ellie? She peeked into the study, her expression brightening the dim room. Ellie, hello? Duke, Miss Ellie, what are you doing here? Ellie, I wanted to say hello to His Grace. Duke, is that so? As you wish. She stepped inside, looking around with curious eyes. Ellie, I just wanted to listen and to hear more about the ore development. I thought he was a kind person, but I'd better be careful. One wrong move, and I could have died. Duke, what's going on? Ellie, I have something for you, Your Grace. She stepped forward, excitement dancing in her eyes. Ellie, it's for your headache. The Duke raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Ellie, Roina mentioned that Your Grace sometimes suffers from headaches, so I brought this for you. Duke, How considerate of you. Where did you find such a thing? Ellie, it just so happened. Flashback. Earlier in the day, Roina, rubbing her temples, sighed in discomfort. Roina, my head. Ellie, Miss Ellie. Back to present. Duke, Anyway, what's that behind your back? Ellie, what? Oh, whatever do you mean? She feigned innocence, her heart racing as the Duke's gaze lingered on her. The arrow she had hidden felt heavier than it should, but her determination pushed her forward. Ellie, it's just a surprise. Duke, a surprise, you say? I'm curious now. Do show me, Miss Ellie. Ellie hesitated, knowing that revealing the arrow might bring unwanted scrutiny. But the glint of intrigue in the Duke's eyes compelled her to take a chance. Ellie, all right, but promise you won't get upset. She slowly revealed the arrow, its craftsmanship gleaming. Duke, an arrow, from the Baron, I see. Impressive. But why bring it here? Ellie, I thought it might help with your headache. Duke, and you think an arrow will do that? Ellie giggled, the tension breaking slightly. Ellie, well, it's not just any arrow. It's made from the ore he discovered. I thought it might inspire you. Duke, inspire me? Ellie, yes. To create something great. Like a sword. The Duke's demeanor shifted, a smile breaking through his stern facade. Duke, you may have a point there, Miss Ellie. Perhaps this little gift will lead to greater things. Ellie, take a look. There's nothing behind my back. Duke, so I see. He sighed, relief washing over him. Duke, phew. What a relief. I must have been mistaken. Why did you go to such trouble? Ellie, I was worried about you. Duke, worried? She nodded earnestly, her big eyes wide with concern. Ellie, yes. Duke, Miss Ellie, would you mind giving the medicine to me? Ellie, to you? Duke, yes, my head hurts from time to time, too. Ellie, all right. Duke, Franz. Give it to me. Franz, I beg your pardon? But you haven't been sick a day in your life. Why did you bring this to me? The Duke's gaze sharpened, and Ellie felt the weight of his scrutiny. Ellie, I doubt you're just here to give me medicine. Duke, he caught on fast. He didn't fall for it. Ellie, my plan was just to leave a good impression on the Duke, but I guess I might as well say it. You told me that I could pick the family that will adopt me, Your Grace. Duke, indeed. Her heart raced as she continued. Ellie, may I choose again? Duke, you want to pick a different family? Ellie, House Schuetz. I want to have you adopt me. The Duke's brows furrowed, a mix of shock and disbelief on his face. Duke, what? Ellie, I won't stay long. I'll make sure I'm ready to leave once I'm old enough. Just let me stay with you for a little while. Duke, don't be ridiculous. I hate inconvenience and fuss. I dislike children even more. Ellie, that's your third red card. Duke, just like that? He didn't pull any punches. Ellie, all right, I understand. I'll be off then. Have a good evening, Your Grace. She turned to leave, her heart sinking. Franz, Your Grace, Miss Ellie is still young. Couldn't you have been a little less direct? Duke, this is children's medicine. Franz, Miss Ellie is a child, so that makes sense. The Duke rubbed his temples, frustration evident. Duke, it's laughable to try and cure pain caused by a curse with mere medicine. And this is children's medicine, no less. It wouldn't even work on an adult. The weight of his words hung in the air, and Franz shifted uncomfortably. Franz, there's a chance that Ellie is the Empress spy. Even though I acknowledge that possibility, I wonder why a part of me keeps hoping. Duke, that it isn't true. Ellie turned back, catching the tail end of the conversation. Ellie, feel better, Your Grace. Her cheerful tone cut through the tension like a knife, a small beacon of light amidst the shadows. Duke, thank you, Miss Ellie. As she walked away, the Duke felt an unsettling mix of emotions. The innocence and determination in her eyes ignited a flicker of hope, battling against the dark possibilities that loomed. Duke, What if she is more than she seems? Ellie, I had guessed that the Duke wouldn't accept me. I hate inconvenience and fuss. Don't be ridiculous. She sighed, reflecting on the Duke's stern demeanor. Ellie, but he was even sterner than I expected. I dislike children even more. He wasn't this bad. If I could be his daughter instead of a daughter-in-law, then I would be out of his hair once I came of age. Then I wouldn't need to go through the trouble of divorcing Damian. She frowned, her thoughts swirling with doubt. Ellie, well, I guess he just didn't want to adopt the daughter of a thief. That would threaten the status of House Schuetz, after all. Her determination began to rise. Ellie, there are 4 years left until Damian goes to war. The female lead will be introduced another 5 years after that, which means I have 9 years left. That's enough time. I can do it. I'll find a way to survive by the time the female lead appears. The clamor of swords clashed in the background, but her thoughts were soon interrupted by the sound of laughter. Marvin, it's truly an honor for my husband to be able to assist Lord Damian with his training. Ellie, I couldn't believe it at first, so I wound up asking Marvin multiple times. It's amazing, isn't it? I hope Damian and Lord Amanta get along. As she spoke, her gaze fell upon Damian, who looked exhausted but determined. The sight filled her with both pride and concern. Ellie, it seems like my little hint about the mine really helped the Baron. I can't believe he decided to help train Damian at such an age. Suddenly, a shadow fell over her, and she turned to see the other knights watching Damian with concern. Knight 1, don't speak poorly of Ellie. Knight 2, if there's one thing I'm worried about, it's how Damian snapped at the Baron. Even if the Baron agreed to help, it won't matter if Damian refuses. Ellie felt a surge of urgency. Ellie, I can't let that happen, so I better move quickly. Just then, she spotted Damian, his cheeks flushed and breathing heavily. Ellie, Damian? What happened? Are you hurt? Damian, Ellie? He wiped the sweat from his brow, his expression a mix of exhaustion and annoyance. Ellie, your cheeks are bright red, and you're sweating. Should I tell His Grace and call for a doctor? Damian, I'm not hurt. I just sat down because I got tired. Ellie, really? Damian, yes, really. I wouldn't lie to you. She felt a wave of relief wash over her, but something still nagged at her. Ellie, that's a relief, but good day, Lord Damian. Judging by the look of the other knights, today's training session must have been difficult. As she spoke, the other knights huffed and heaved, clearly worn out. Ellie, now that she mentions it, even the adults are huffing and heaving. Just how hard were they training? Knight 1, even though Damian is destined to be a sword master someday, he's still a kid. They should go easier on him. Knight 2, are they being hard on him because he's new? Ellie approached Damian, her voice gentle. Ellie, I'll come watch you practice more often, Damian. Damian, really? Ellie, yeah, I want to make sure no one is bullying you. Damian, I'm really okay. Ellie, oh, or do you not want me to come watch you practice? Damian, no, that's not it. I'm having a really tough time. Ellie, what about us, Lord Damian? We're the ones who have it rough here. She gestured animatedly, her determination shining through. Damian, but I think it will be easier with you here. So you can come, as often as you want. Her heart softened at his words, but a hint of suspicion crossed her mind. Ellie, I recognize that expression. Ellie, Tommy, are you sure you didn't eat Betty's cookies? Damian chuckled, shaking his head. Damian, but Damian would never lie. Okay, I'll come more often then. Ellie, good work today, Damian. His cheeks flushed, a shy smile breaking through. Damian, ah, you're so sweet. Ellie, oh my, you two get along so well. The tension shifted, and as they shared a moment of laughter, a sudden cry shattered the atmosphere. Voice, help us! Ellie and Damian exchanged worried glances, and they both turned toward the source of the commotion. Ellie, good day, Lord Damian. Viera, ah. I see Miss Ellie and Viera are here as well. Ellie, hello, my lord. Viera, I didn't realize the three of you would be here together. I heard that you had offered to help with Damian's training, so I decided to pay a visit. Ellie, is it a problem that I'm here? Viera, of course not. On the contrary, you've helped me a great deal, Miss Ellie. Viera produced a small package wrapped in cloth, a mysterious glimmer catching Ellie's eye. Viera, I had planned to send this to you later, but I suppose I'll give it to you now. Ellie, a bow? Viera, it's a gift for you, Miss Ellie. Ellie, for me? Not Damian? As she examined the bow, her eyes widened in surprise. Ellie, this seems like a sturdy bow. It's been infused with a little mana too. A smile crept onto her face. Ellie, the hint I gave the Baron about the mine must have helped him a lot more than I thought. What a nice gift. Viera's expression turned thoughtful, and Ellie sensed a change in the atmosphere. Viera, I still haven't had the chance to give Ellie anything. But wait, aren't swords used more often in war than bows? Ellie, yes, that's correct. Viera, however, there are limits where our ability to forge swords is concerned. Ellie, I guess the Baron isn't skilled enough to be able to create swords yet. I guess I gave him the hint for nothing, but maybe Waybrock would be able to. Viera, Waybrock? Ellie, he's a blacksmith that works at Schuetz Castle. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that every knight here had their sword made by him. Viera, then can't you just ask him to make one? The mood shifted again, and Ellie felt a sense of dread creeping in. Viera, well? Ellie, what is it? Viera, Waybrock is currently blind in one eye, you see. Ellie, blind? Viera, yes, the doctor said he could lose sight in the other eye as well. Ellie, you mean even a doctor can't cure him? Viera, no. If he'd had it treated in the past, he would probably be fine now. But it was Waybrock who refused treatment. Ellie, why? The weight of the situation began to settle in. Ellie, wait. It's going to seem like I'm digging around for intel if I keep pestering the Baron. I'd better find someone else to ask. Viera, I see. Ellie, you don't have any more questions? Viera, my mother used to tell me not to stick my nose in other people's business. I know you won't tell me the reason anyway. Isn't that right? Ellie, yes. Viera, are you going to train now? I hope you don't forget that Damian is still young. I'm telling you to be gentle with him, got it? Ellie felt a mix of concern and determination as she watched Viera interact with Damian. Ellie, I'd better see what information I can find on Waybrock. Just then, Damian spoke up, his voice laced with frustration. Damian, what's wrong, Damian? Viera, don't like him at all. Ellie's heart sank. She glanced at Damian, sensing his unease. Ellie, what is he talking about? Viera, I don't think anyone heard. Ellie, why don't you like him? Damian, the Baron might look like an old man, but he's quite strong. And he's thighs tall. Ellie, so? Damian, he's a bad person. Ellie's eyebrows furrowed in concern. Damian, he was rude to you, Ellie. Ellie, you're a good person. Damian, but he got mad at you and acted like you were someone bad. Ellie knelt beside Damian, looking him in the eye. Ellie, it's okay, Damian. People can be complicated. Sometimes they don't show their true selves right away. Ellie, don't worry about me. I know you trust me. I don't need anything more. Damian, that's really enough? Ellie, of course. She could see the tension in his shoulders ease a bit, but she knew there was more beneath the surface. Ellie, so Damian, try to trust the Baron as much as you trust me, okay? He'll be able to help you a lot. Damian, okay. If that's what you want, then I will. Ellie, really? Damian, I appreciate that, Damian. The moment felt lighter, but Ellie could sense Damian's underlying turmoil. Damian, Ellie, in the original story, Damian wasn't disliked by the other people here. It's my fault for coming with him. I should be the one that's cast aside, not him. Ellie felt a pang in her chest. Ellie, I'll wait over here. Good luck with your training. As Damian returned to his practice, Ellie's resolve strengthened. Ellie thought this is the only option. Damian must get stronger. If the important vassals of House Schuetz recognize his strength, then other people won't be able to treat him with disrespect or hostility. Just then, Lady Amanta strode into view, her presence commanding attention. Lady Amanta, there you are, Lady Amanta. Oh, Miss Ellie is here too. Franz, what brings you here? Lady Amanta, it's the first day of Lord Damian's training, no? I had to come. Franz, he's holding his own better than I thought. Lady Amanta, yes, the Baron seems to be fighting him in earnest too. Ellie's gaze shifted to the Baron, who stood off to the side, watching Damian intently. Lady Amanta, he made this for me too. As she spoke, she revealed a beautifully crafted bow, the craftsmanship evident even from a distance. Lady Amanta, it's a bow crafted from a new ore he discovered. I've earned the Baron's approval. Can you see how useful I am? Ellie felt a swell of pride for both Damian and Lady Amanta. Franz, it seems the Baron was one step ahead of his grace. Lady Amanta, huh? He doesn't seem very surprised or impressed. Ellie's curiosity was piqued as she noticed the Baron trying to conceal something behind his back. Lady Amanta, and what's that behind his back? Franz, he's trying to hide it, which makes me even more curious. The tension in the air thickened as Ellie and Franz exchanged glances, both silently wondering what the Baron was keeping from them. Ellie thought whatever it is, it must be important. I need to find out. Ellie, Damian. She felt a tug at her heart, knowing he was pushing himself to the limits. Baron, you won't go to him? Ellie, I want to, but I won't. I won't always be able to step in. She understood the importance of letting him stand on his own, to face challenges without her intervention. Baron, in order for Damian to carry on his family name, he has to pick himself back up. Ellie nodded, realizing the wisdom in the Baron's words. Baron, I wasn't planning on sparring with him so seriously, but I got carried away. As they watched, the Baron continued to push Damian, who was clearly struggling yet refusing to back down. Baron, Lord Damian still has much to learn about swordsmanship, but I'm impressed by his ability to predict my moves and counter so ruthlessly. Ellie's gaze shifted to the other knights, their expressions revealing surprise and admiration. Baron, even knights that live and die on the battlefield aren't able to predict their opponent's moves like that. So how is such a small and young boy like Lord Damian capable of such a thing? Ellie watched as Damian's determination shone through, even after what must have been a grueling training session. Baron, it seems like the knights already went up against him before I arrived, and judging by their expressions, it seems like the training was more difficult than they anticipated. Damian stood tall, sweat dripping down his brow, yet he remained ready to face the next challenge. Baron, I had heard that he used to fight monsters when he was a slave. Baron, get up. Your training isn't over yet. Ellie felt a surge of pride mixed with worry. Baron, did those experiences make him stronger? She remembered the stories Damian had shared, the hardships he endured, and how they shaped him into the resilient boy he was now. Baron, there are two fundamental techniques in swordsmanship: offense and defense. You are exceptional at the former, but that's it. You will not be able to defend others in your current state. The Baron's voice was firm, but Ellie could see the potential within Damian. Baron, that's enough for today. Make sure you get enough rest. Damian, I can continue. Baron, you can't win once your opponent realizes your weaknesses, Lord Damian. We'll continue after you've had some time to rest. Damian took a deep breath, the fire in his eyes not dimming. Damian, I think I understand now. As Ellie listened, she recognized the unspoken connection between the Baron and Damian. Ellie thought, I understand why His Grace brought that girl here. The Baron's insight was vital to Damian's growth, and Ellie felt a new sense of determination wash over her. She would do everything in her power to support both of them in their journey ahead. Ellie, to herself, I have to be strong for him. I won't let him face this alone. Damian. I've never seen Damian make such a face before. I hope he's not harboring any hatred toward the Baron. I'm going to work hard. I want to get strong. It looked like she didn't have to worry anymore. Damian had his own goals now, and this was a good change. You're already strong enough. Ellie heard. No, I need to be stronger so I can protect those I care about. I can't do anything yet, she replied. Huh. In the original story, Damian said that when the female lead appeared. Was it okay that he was saying it now? I suppose that means you'll need to start eating more too, someone suggested. I have to eat more? Will it make a difference? Ellie asked. Of course it will. If you eat enough, you'll be able to fight 17-1 and still win. Just what were they planning to do to her research paper? Ellie's memories from her past life flashed before her eyes. There you go, all clean, Damian and Miss Ellie. 17-1. Ellie sure is strong. Someone remarked. It's mealtime, the food will get cold soon, so why don't we head inside? Pardon me. Oh. Mr. Franz, you were here too. Okay. Let's go, Damian. Time to eat and get stronger. You should be less risky too, someone suggested. Okay, I will, Ellie replied. Ha, wow, it's so cold. Still, it's nice to be able to take walks with you, Ellie remarked. Really? Damian asked. HAA. Are you copying me? Yeah, Damian said with a smile. As always, he was so cute. Who did he take after? Ellie? All right. Let's go that way. Miss Ellie, Damian, that path is dangerous. Why don't you walk somewhere else? A voice warned. What? Why? Ellie wondered. Huh? Ashel, why are you holding your nose? Does something smell bad? My apologies, Miss Ellie. There's a stench coming from somewhere around here. I have a sensitive nose. The smell of sweat in the training hall bothered me too, Ashel explained. Really? I don't smell anything. Wait, the smell isn't coming from me, right? Ellie asked. It can't be Damian. He always smells nice. Of course not. You and Lord Damian always smell like flowers, Ashel reassured her. There's actually a place I want to show you. Would you follow me, please? Ashel asked. This is the Red Lake. It's the only one of its kind. Many people have drowned because they were entranced by its color and fell in. I brought you here because I wanted to warn you of it, Ashel said solemnly. People have drowned in it, Ellie asked, shocked. Because there are so many accidents, there has been some talk of filling it up, but it ultimately wasn't because of the mana in the lake bed. That's why you two shouldn't get too close to it. You heard that, right, Damian? Ellie asked. You too, Miss Ellie. Promise me you won't get too close. Ashel insisted. But I'm older than Damian, Ellie muttered. Huh. Is that smell booze? Something smells sour, Ellie realized. Oh, good day. It's been a while. Do you remember me? A man asked. I told you it was dangerous to bring children here, he scolded. Yes, I was aware, but... Ashel hesitated. So she was having a hard time because of the odor coming from that man, Ellie thought. And my apologies. We'll be heading back now. Goodbye, Waybrock. Waybrock? The blacksmith. Damian's sword, Ellie murmured. Time to head back now, you too, Ashel said. Okay. Ellie and Damian answered in unison. Ashel, that was Waybrock, right? The one who makes weapons for everyone in Schuetz Castle? That's what I heard from Baron Amanta, Ellie said. Phew, we made it. She sighed. Yes, but that was true very long ago. Ashel explained. Did he stop making weapons because he's blind in one eye? Ellie asked. Well. Ashel trailed off. His daughter drowned in the Red Lake? Ellie exclaimed. Yes, it happened long ago. Everyone in the castle knows what happened. Ashel confirmed. So that's why he smelled like liquor. His daughter died, and then he went blind. I feel so bad for him, Ellie whispered. But Waybrock only became like that after Lady Uriah passed away. He was grieving the death of his daughter around the same time Lady Uriah arrived at the castle. Lady Uriah was the same age as his daughter, and his depression improved after he spent time with her. But then after Lady Uriah died, he just started drinking all day. Apparently, he keeps refusing treatment from the castle physician too. All dry, Ashel said quietly. I see, you understand now why you should never get close to the Red Lake, right? You shouldn't ever go near it. Understood? Ashel warned. Yes, we understand, Ellie and Damian answered. Have sweet dreams, Miss Ellie and Lord Damian. Maybe it's because I'm thinking of my own mother, but I can't get his story off my mind, Ellie thought. Let's sleep, Damian. You smell nice, Ellie said as she tried to rest. But her thoughts lingered. I can't stop thinking about it, so I'd better go back tomorrow, she decided. But Miss Ellie, you promised me. Damian reminded her, Ellie said. I feel like I have a cold coming on. I spent all of yesterday outside, too. I didn't realize they'd call the castle physician after I sneezed just once. It was just a regular sneeze. You won't need to take medicine. Look, I feel fine. They're all so kind, Jared Amanta called out. Get away! Is that the castle physician? Is he treating Waybrock today? This timing is perfect. I should ask him about Waybrock. He approached and said, Excuse me. Yes, my lord. You won't have to worry. Waybrock is going to lose sight in his other eye as well, Jarek Amanta added. He believes the deterioration of his condition is just part of the healing process. Make sure you do it right. Once Waybrock is out of the picture, there won't be anyone skilled enough to create a sword that can contain the Duke's aura. Without the ability to produce weaponry, House Schuetz will grow weaker. That'll be the perfect opportunity for House Quintar to take over the weapons trade. Yes. I'm aware. It'll be over for Duke Schuetz after that, he replied. He continued, Without Waybrock, House Schuetz is nothing. We must not let the ore that Baron Amanta discovered fall into Waybrock's hands, she responded. Yes, I'm taking care of that too. Well. Would you look at that? Anyway, you'll give me some of the rights to the weapons business if this goes well, yes? Ellie added with a smile. Would I lie to you? Jarek Amanta reassured. Of course not. I have no reason to doubt you, my lord. Making a living is hard. Wow, is he out of his mind? A man nearby thought. The crows are louder than usual today. Hey, could you be quiet? He turned and exclaimed. A child? What do you think you're doing? Do you have any idea how dangerous this lake is? Ellie greeted him. Good day, sir, good day, he replied, bewildered. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Wait, maybe I yelled at her too much. People are already afraid of me. I don't want to make this child cry, Ellie, taken aback, said. Sorry. Thanks for saving me. I didn't save you. What are you doing here? He asked. It's about this. It's neat, right? I got it as a gift. But I've never shot an arrow before. I wanted to practice somewhere without other people so I wouldn't hurt anyone by mistake. Ellie thought. I knew he'd be interested. She offered. Shall I give it to you then? Me? Why? You can't take your eyes off of it, he said, trying to maintain composure. I'm not going to take something from a child. I have a conscience, you know, Ellie pondered. Now that I think about it, I suppose Lord Amanta would be sad if I gave it to you, she said. Want to just take a look then? Look all you want. Look at me, Waybrock. Aren't you curious about what kind of ore I am? Ellie added playfully. In that case, I suppose I'll look for just a moment, he admitted. Success. Ellie thought, he's interested in the new ore. Why don't you come in? You'll get cold if you stay out in the snow too long, Ellie said, suddenly remembering. I forgot how dirty the house is. The stench of alcohol is pretty strong, too. She gestured. You can sit over there. I'll have to clean up for my surprise visitor. If there are people out there trying to bring Duke Schuetz down, then Waybrock's affliction would be an opportunity for them, Ellie thought. If they're planning on making him blind in his other eye as well, then it's possible that they're also the ones who caused him to lose sight in his first eye. But I can't let Waybrock's vision get any worse. Ellie glanced at a bottle and thought, what is that? Is it medicine? This color. I better take it with me. It looks suspicious. Shivering, she said. It's so chilly, you're quite a handful. Wait, is he eating enough? I'm hungry, sir, Ellie said. What? I don't have anything to eat, the man replied. What? Then what do you eat? Ellie asked. You shouldn't do that. You have to eat enough to stay healthy instead of drinking all the time. You know what they say. If you eat well today, you'll live well tomorrow, he softened, saying. It's been so long since I've heard that. I had a daughter once. She was a smart, pretty girl. But not anymore. She fell into that lake you were looking at earlier. It's all my fault. I should have told her to stay away from it. I should have been more strict, but I wasn't, Ellie, moved, said. That's not your fault, sir. My mother passed away because of me. She wasn't exactly an upstanding citizen. I don't want to justify what she did. It was bad, after all. But if it hadn't been for me, she wouldn't have done something so extreme. Still, if she heard me blaming myself for what happened like you are, this is what she'd say, Ellie continued. She said, it's not your fault. If your daughter could see you now. It's not your fault, Dad. That's what she'd want to tell you. A few years ago, someone told me the same thing you did. That person is no longer in this world, but you remind me of her. Very much so. I'll be going now. They might scold me for staying out so long. Oh, and I'm only letting you borrow the arrow today, Ellie said. You can repay me by playing with me and my friends tomorrow. We agreed that we'd meet up. You'll come, right? The man nodded, replying, All right. Where will you be? Ellie beamed. The castle. His eyes widened in surprise. What? Ellie added cheerfully. I'll see you tomorrow, then. As she turned away, he muttered, Wait. I didn't realize there was such a young maid like that at the castle. She's pretty headstrong. He sighed, feeling the weight of the coming night. Tonight will be a long night. The man stayed up all night, captivated by the arrow, wishing he could see the ore that the arrowhead was made from. Well, I say that, but who would want me working on anything? I haven't so much as picked up a hammer in 10 years. He pondered the last time he had come this close to the castle and whispered, I don't know if I'll be able to face His Grace again. They won't be able to smell the booze on me, right? I can't reek of alcohol in front of the kids. Guards stationed at the entrance questioned him. What brings you here? What's that in your hand? Reveal your identity at once. He stammered. Wait. He knew only a handful of people in the castle would recognize him after his long absence. Just then, Lady Amanta stepped forward. Do you know this man? One of the guards asked. Lady Amanta smiled. Quite well, in fact. It's been a long time, Waybrock. Waybrock was taken aback. Thank you for that, Lady Amanta, she replied. Of course they wouldn't welcome you with open arms. You came up to them with an arrow in your hands. Come in. Miss Ellie is waiting for you. His heart skipped a beat. Miss Ellie? That child isn't a servant? Ellie greeted him enthusiastically. Hello again, you came early. Lady Amanta nodded. Good morning to you as well, Waybrock. Ellie turned to them, eyes full of curiosity. Lord Amanta? Waybrock? What are you doing here? Smiling, she explained. I wanted to introduce you to. This is my friend. He's interested in weaponry. He took a liking to the present you gave me, my lord. You like making weapons too, so I thought you would benefit from speaking with him for a bit. Waybrock's expression shifted to surprise. But how do you two? Ellie urged him. Come over here, mister. Let's sit and talk for a bit. Lady Amanta chuckled, recalling that Viera had gone out to get Waybrock based on Ellie's account. Yes. I was a bit taken aback as well, Lady Amanta said. Waybrock tried to focus as Ellie changed the subject swiftly. What did you think of the arrow, mister? He took a breath and answered. I took a good look at it, miss. Thank you. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I didn't realize that you were Lord Damian's betrothed. Ellie waved off the apology. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Brown Amanta's eyes narrowed with interest. You said you looked at the arrow. What did you think of it, Waybrock? He took a deep breath. I was stunned. Where did you get the idea to make it out of a monster? Lady Amanta's eyes sparkled with satisfaction. Well, about that. It's all going according to plan. Ellie sipped her cocoa contentedly. Brown Amanta leaned in. A sword would certainly work better than an arrow. Ellie giggled. I just knew you'd say that. Brown Amanta turned to Waybrock. What do you say, Waybrock? Don't you want to make one together? With your talent, we could create something incredible. Waybrock's eyes darkened. My apologies. Your eye still hasn't healed yet. Are you still refusing treatment for it? Waybrock's confusion showed. I beg your pardon? What are you talking about, my lord? I've been taking medicine for quite some time. Lady Amanta's eyes sharpened. What? Waybrock nodded. Dr. Damian even gave me a prescription. Wait. I forgot to take my medicine while I was looking at the arrow, but for some reason, everything looks a bit clearer than usual. Lady Amanta's expression shifted with realization. You take medicine. That medicine. Could it be? My lord, I have a favor, Andy announced. We will now begin the report from each vassal house. If the thief's daughter becomes the Duke's successor alongside Lord Damian, there's bound to be conflict with the imperial family. It could mean the end of House Schuetz. Even if we seize control of the weapons trade, we could be in trouble without the Schuetz family. Turning to Viscount Quintar, Auntie said. You have a plan for this, don't you? Ellie chimed in. Feel better soon, Your Grace. I wonder what those pills are. He's been in a good mood all day, Duke Schuetz initiated. Let us begin. Yes, Your Grace. I can start with reports from my territory. Recently, we've been developing. Not bad, the Duke remarked. On our domain. The report continued. Very good. Next, Viscount Quintar stood up. House Quintar has produced a new weapon that is far superior to its predecessors. Unlike our previous attempts, this sword is far lighter and easier to wield. So, I wanted to present this to you, Your Grace. In the past, only Waybrock was capable of producing the Duke's blades. The Duchy of Schuetz will suffer greater damage if the Duke doesn't deal with the rampant monsters. That means Duke Schuetz will have no choice but to use House Quintar's weapons. Dr. Damian turned to Baron Amanta. How have you been faring with the new mine you recently discovered? Baron Amanta replied. Things are going smoothly, Your Grace. I'd be curious to know what smoothly means, exactly. From what I hear, you still can't produce more than arrows. But what about the Black Lions? Don't all of the Schuetz family's knights use swords? It's downright absurd that you can only make arrows. Well, who knows? Perhaps they could serve some purpose in a hunting contest. Baron Amanta muttered. Dr. Damian asked. How is Waybrock's condition? About that. He's continuing to refuse treatment. It's partially due to psychological factors as well, so we really can't force him. I see, the Duke noted. It is indeed light. It worked, Quintar thought. The Duke will finally accept my family's sword. Suddenly, a commotion interrupted the meeting. Who dares interrupt our meeting? Duke Schuetz replied. Come in. The director entered, bowing. Please forgive me for interrupting, Your Grace. Damian stepped forward. Is Dr. Damian here? He is, but Miss Ellie says she's in pain because of the eye drops you gave her. The director explained. Dr. Damian asked. What happened exactly? HM? I've never given her medicine before. The director's face twisted in confusion. You mean to say that you didn't give her this medicine? That's the medicine I've been giving to Waybrock. It's a liquid made from the cursed water of the Red Lake in Orverdo, which damages the sight in Waybrock's remaining good eye. Why was the thief's daughter using it? The Duke is considering making her his successor as well. If she winds up blind, then he'll have my head. Where is she? I need to see what kind of state she's in. It's dangerous. The director's eyes widened. What do you mean? I heard this was clearly medicine. Who would tell you such nonsense? It's a dangerous poison. We have to do something, and fast. Dr. Damian shouted. I must examine her condition at once. Where is she? Please take me to her. Waybrock? What are you doing here? Waybrock replied. That medicine is fake. About that. The medicine you were giving me was actually poison? Dairan asked, eyes narrowed. Just what's going on here, Dairan? You gave fake medicine to Waybrock? Waybrock, is your eye all better? He looks healthier than I thought. Someone observed. No. This will all fall on me, and I'll die for it. I was just following orders. Viscount Quintar told me to do it. Dairan confessed desperately. What are you talking about? You said that you had to kill Waybrock to weaken the military might of the North, did you not? Are you trying to pin your evil actions on me? Quintar protested. I have proof. Once Waybrock is out of the picture, there won't be anyone skilled enough to create a sword that can contain the Duke's aura. Without the ability to produce weaponry, House Schuetz will grow weaker. That'll be the perfect opportunity for House Quintar to take over the weapons trade. Dairan revealed, his voice trembling. He recorded our conversation? How dare that fool Dairan do such a thing? How amusing. I had thought that there might be a conniving rat plotting against me while I was looking for the child, but I didn't think he had been hiding here for so long. And, in my castle, no less. Duke Schuetz's voice darkened. Duke Schuetz, those are the eyes of the murderer whose madness is quelled only when he sheds blood. You were right. This sword is far lighter and easier to wield than others. Anti-Rink, His Grace is furious. We'll be in big trouble if he loses all sense of reason. Your Grace, for the first time in 10 years I'd like to give you a sword. I feel like I'm standing in front of the gallows. There's no way he'd accept a sword from someone who hasn't picked up a hammer in a decade. It's been quite some time. A mere counterfeit never feels quite the same. Since I've been given the real thing, I should put it to use right away. Duke Schuetz to Waybrock. Don't you agree? Waybrock. Yes, Your Grace. He may have accepted the sword, but I'm sure he'll punish me for the problems that arose while I was gone. Your wish is my command. How long will I have to wait? Waybrock. I beg your pardon? For your swords, I mean. My knights will need time to get used to them. I hope it won't take too long. I'll bring them to you post-haste, Your Grace. Auntie, thinking, I'm glad that everything with Waybrock and those schemers all worked out. His Grace seems to have gotten better now that he's shed some blood. Why does his aura still look like that? Has he still not calmed down after shedding that much blood? Your Grace. Where are you going? Ellie, surprised. Your Grace? What of your eye? I heard you used some strange medicine. You're making me dizzy, Your Grace. Did he figure out that I lied? Judging by the blood on his clothes, I'd say that things turned out well. About that, maybe I should have gone there myself and pretended to put the eye drops in. Director shouting, Your Grace? I didn't know you were coming, so I did nothing to prepare, Your Grace. How could you just run off like that without a word? And where were you headed to in such a hurry? Right this way, Your Grace. Come quickly. Director refuses to budge. Do you really not know? What's with all the sighing? If I knew, why would I ask? Use this to wipe the blood, Auntie added. For Miss Ellie. Explain. You're used to the sight of blood, Your Grace. However, the same can't be said of Miss Ellie. She's still young. Can you imagine how scary it must have been for her when she saw all that blood? Other children would have been in shock if they had seen you, Director told, Your Grace. I think you dropped this. So I did. I was the one that gave Miss Ellie that medicine. I suppose she gave it to you instead of taking it herself. If it were me, I would have just taken the medicine. I can't imagine being bothered if such an ill-tempered man like yourself was sick. Give it to me, of course, Duke Schuetz says. Auntie, do the other knights usually carry around handkerchiefs with them? Auntie replies, No, Your Grace. Of course not. Give each of them one of these. We never know when they might need to clean blood, Duke Schuetz, thinking. Any fabric will do. Dear Miss Ellie. How did you get that scratch on your face? Ellie, the towel that one of the knights gave me was just a little rough. Duke Schuetz, no, find the softest fabric possible. Ellie is the one who will see the handkerchiefs. There could be moments when the knights could lend them to her, so we better choose a nice pattern as well, he added. Roina, make sure you tell the servants to embroider them with flowers. Auntie will be in charge of distributing the handkerchiefs, Director replies. As you wish, Duke thinking. What's going on with His Grace? Ellie says. We have arrived, Lord Damian and Miss Ellie. Wow. Pelling district within the Duchy of Schuetz. There are so many people. Newspapers for sale. Get your newspaper here, Ellie continues. Miss Ellie, is it really alright if you don't go to the Schuetz family's shops? This is the first time, in a while, that His Grace has allowed you to leave. After all, Ellie replies. Yes, it's fine. I like this market just fine. I'll need the help of other merchant groups if I want to do business under my name once I'm not living with the Duke anymore. I should do a little market research now that I have the opportunity, Ellie calling out. Let's go, Damian! It's dangerous because there are a lot of people out here, so you can't let go of my hand, okay? Damian adds. Does that mean you'll let go of my hand if we go somewhere less crowded? Ellie thinks. He must be scared because there are so many people. I can keep holding your hand if you'd like. Damian. Really, Ellie? Of course, Damian. Okay, you promise you won't let go. Ellie. Okay, you promise you won't let go. Vendor shouts. New weapons for cheap. Just arrived today, Ellie thinks. As expected, most of the wares in the north are for dealing with monsters. Ellie. Tasty, right? Damian, you got sauce on your face. Damian. But I don't have anything to wipe it with. Ellie. Use this. Damian. Thank you, Ellie thinks. That's Sir Rainer, right? He certainly likes fancy things. Look at me, Damian. Ellie. Okay, I think we've seen nearly everything. I'd like to know about the products in more detail. Vendor. Are you interested? Ellie. Yes, those look quite unique. Vendor. They're very pricey, so I'm going to stop you right there. I mean, if you have that kind of money, then I suppose you can take a look around, miss. Ellie thinks. That scoundrel. Vendor. Enthusiastic. Wow, how exciting. What are these? Vendor explains. Those are healing potions. Please feel free to take a look, miss. Ellie. I see. This treats light bruises, but paying a visit to the priest may prove to be more effective anyway. For such a minor effect, it is pricey. The temple would be better for treating Duke Schuetz's madness. Even if they can't completely cure him, but I'm sure most poor people buy the potions since they can't afford to hire a priest with divine power. Ivana says. Miss Ellie, you're not hurt, are you? Why are you interested in healing potions? Ellie replies. It's nothing. I was just thinking that I could give them to His Grace when he's not feeling well. Ivana. Then why don't you buy one as a gift? In our duchy, it's customary for children to buy presents for their family on their first outing. It's meaningful for those who receive the gifts, Ellie thinks. A gift. A potion for the Duke. He didn't bat an eye when I gave him the headache medicine. How dare you give me such a trivial gift? He wouldn't like it. I'll pass on this one. Let's take a look at something else, Ivana. As you wish, Miss Ellie, Ellie says. They're so pretty. Man replies. You have good taste. Would you like to pick one out? Ellie thinks. The gems in those earrings look just like Damian's eyes. Should I buy them? Those would look good on Ellie. I'll take those over there, Ellie says. Thank you, Mississippi. Now that I got my gift. Ivana, Ashel, let's head out. Wait, were they expecting me to buy them a gift too? My relationship with them exists on the Duke's orders, but they're still good people. I've never bought something for someone before, but maybe I should, to show my appreciation for everyone in the castle. Will they even like what I give them? Ellie sees the sparkly item. My, it's so pretty. Man says, feel free to take a look around. They're not extremely expensive items, but they're definitely worth these prices. Ellie sees something she likes. So I see. The sparkly one is quite pretty. May our son pick one out? Man enthusiastically. But of course, Ellie thinks. It suddenly got crowded. I'll take that one, please. Man hands over the item. Thank you. I'll give you your change in just a moment, Ellie thinks. Shall we take a look around the other shops? This must be how Duke Schuetz felt when he noticed my trick from that time. It's not like that boy stole from me, so I don't really care, but I could be doing business here someday. I can't let such crimes go unnoticed, Ellie says. Where do you think you're going? Who are you? Man defensive. I saw you stealing back there. Man replies. What are you talking about? Our child did what? Ellie firmly. This is it. The first gift I'll give to the ticket. We really didn't know. Man defensively. He's young, so I think this was just a momentary lapse in judgment. Now, It's time to apologize. Are you going to keep acting up like this? How dare you steal? Ellie shouts. Stop, Ellie thinks. They are not even his real parents. It's obvious what's going on. They're using children in need for their own selfish ends. How can you say that you did nothing wrong? You just hit a child that you don't even know. Man furious. Stop running your mouth, Ivana. Miss Ellie, are you alright? Should we call for a physician or the carriage? Ellie. They're making a run for it, May shouts. Go catch them, Sir Rainer. Miss Ellie, are you able to get up? Ellie. Of course. I'm not hurt at all. Damian, would you mind giving me a hand? Damian. Of course, Grace says. Wait. Here. Ellie surprised. How did you? Ellie realizes. I saw you grab that man's pants cuffs back there, so I thought there might be something you wanted from him. Damian warns. Ellie, be careful. Grace explains. He took your bracelet, so you had no choice but to go do as he said, right? I understand why you did it, but you shouldn't steal next time. You made it really obvious that you were stealing. Grace sincerely. Thank you, Grace adds. This is all I have left of my parents. I'll repay you somehow. Ellie gently. How about we get you something to eat first? Grace grateful. Thank you so much for returning the bracelet and giving me enough bread and milk for my siblings. I live at the Mareep orphanage. It's not too far from here. If you ever need help, you can find me there. I'll do what I can, Ellie thinks. He might be young, but he definitely has a sense of honor. It's all right, my name is Grace, Ellie thinks further. Grace is a common name, but in the book, she was an important character. She was a holy knight that risked her life to protect Ashel, the female lead. Could this child be that Grace? It might be weird to say at this moment, but she's very handsome, Ellie thought, staring at Grace. The novel did say Grace was a woman, but I didn't expect this. She glanced at her own face, wondering if something was wrong. Is there something on my face? She asked. No, you're just very handsome, Grace replied. What? Ellie blinked, confused. Thanks. You're very pretty too, Grace said. Really, though. I'm not sure whether I should thank you now. Damian, standing nearby, seemed to be just as shy around Grace. Well, that makes sense, Ellie mused. Damian's had a tough life. Just then, Sir Rainer approached. Miss Ellie, are you feeling all right? Did you get hurt from falling? He asked, concern evident on his face. I wasn't exactly sure where you got hurt, so I brought a few kinds of medicine. Ellie was surprised that Sir Rainer had managed to get all of this together while she was talking to Grace. Thank you, but I really am fine, she reassured him. We're glad you didn't get hurt, Sir Rainer said, relieved. In that case, it's time to head back to the carriage. It isn't good to walk around if you're not feeling well. Sir Rainer, if you will. Pardon me, Rainer said, turning to the guards. Take the two scoundrels you captured back in another carriage. Ellie frowned. Wait, we're going back? But I didn't get to buy all my presents. Ivana, Ashel, May. I wasn't able to see everything at the market. Can't I look around a little longer? She asked, a bit disappointed. I'll make sure to stick with Sir Rainer. If I start feeling unwell, I'll go back to the carriage, Ellie added. The light, Sir Rainer muttered, clearly worried. Okay, but be careful, he warned. We'll get the other knights together, Sir Rainer said, as the group prepared to leave. So, she's from a noble family. I'm jealous. He waved to Grace. See you next time, Grace. I don't need the medicine, so you can have it. Ellie added a cheerful goodbye. Bye. My situation will change a bit in the future, but I hope you'll take care of Damian then, too. Grace, surprised, asked. This is for me. Meanwhile, Duke Schuetz greeted them. A new sword already? Your skills haven't rusted at all. Come in. They entered the room. Your Grace, we're back. Hello, Miss Ellie and Lord Damian. I heard today was your first outing. How was it? The Duke asked. It was great. We saw so many fun things, Ellie said enthusiastically. It was interesting to see how quick the people of the back alleys in the north are with their hands, though they were a little sloppy. Glad to hear it, Miss Ellie, the Duke said. Is there anything else? Ellie smiled and replied, I brought these back. She handed him a gift. His Grace doesn't have his ears pierced, but I guess he won't mind since it's a gift Miss Ellie brought for him. Sir Raynor noted the earrings. Those are such pretty earrings. Right? Ellie said. Here you go, Damian. Damian looked surprised. They're for me? I thought they'd look good on you. Wow, thank you. That's so sweet, Damian replied. I guess we both bought something for each other. Great minds really do think alike. Want to go back to our room and try them on? Ellie smiled. Yeah, they seem quite close, Sir Raynor observed. We'll be going now, Your Grace. Wait, Miss Ellie, Sir Raynor called out. Don't you have something for His Grace as well? Ellie paused, then nodded. Of course I do, Sir Raynor, Ellie exclaimed. We were able to locate the hideout of a group of notorious pickpockets operating in the duchy. A group of pickpockets? Sir Raynor asked. Yes, Miss Ellie managed to catch one. Ellie shrugged. I got lucky. I hope you like your gift. We'll be off now, she said. That's quite an incredible present, the Duke commented. I'm jealous, Sir Raynor muttered under his breath, feeling a twinge of envy. It seems like he just wanted a little trinket from her. He added, Pity His Grace, Raynor said. How was today's outing, Damian? Did you have fun? Ellie asked. Yes, I'm glad I got to go with you, Ellie. Also, it made me so happy to get a gift from you. Damian smiled, his eyes warm. I'm happy that you gifted me something too. You're so sweet, Ellie's thoughts drifted. I don't want to be pretty. I want to be handsome. Just like that kid we met today, Ellie frowned, wondering. That kid? Did it bother him that I complimented Grace? She looked at Damian. You're handsome. Damian was already starting to worry about his appearance. Ellie found it unexpected. Of course, being handsome is good. By my standards, the most handsome man is Duke Schuetz. He's a 10, she chuckled to herself. I called Damian pretty, then told him I like handsome men better. But I like people who are pretty the best. Damian, you're pretty and handsome. You have it all, Ellie said with a teasing smile. Really? Damian asked, clearly pleased. Of course, Ellie then looked at him with concern. Ellie, do you feel all right now? You're not hurt? You mean from earlier? Ellie hesitated for a moment. I was faking all that, to be honest. Damian's eyes widened in surprise. You were faking it? Yeah, Ellie admitted. Remember what I told you at the orphanage? Lying is better than being made a fool of. That's why I exaggerated a bit so we could catch the bad guy. It was a white lie, Damian, still trying to process, chuckled. If there's something you want, you should never give up. Use any means at your disposal to get it, Ellie smiled, but her tone became more serious. Of course, but there's nothing in the world you can't have if you give it your all. You shouldn't do anything immoral or unethical, she paused, reflecting on the painful events in Damian's life. In the novel, two of Damian's love rivals, first Prince Fabian and second Prince Matteo, caused him an incredible amount of pain and suffering. With a soft but determined look, Ellie took Damian's hand. So, Damian, let's try to live a happier life this time. I'll help you no matter what, okay? Damian looked at her, his heart swelling with emotion. I want to stay by your side forever, Lady Amanta shouted. You get better and better each day, Ellie blinked unsure. You think so? Of course. Lady Amanta smiled. You're very talented, Ellie shook her head. I'm not that good, she hesitated, then continued, her voice softer. To be honest, I didn't think Lord Amanta would give me a present, Lady Amanta waved it off. It's nothing, really. You're going to be a member of our family, after all, Ellie paused, a bitter edge to her words. Family. You know, you'll just wind up hurt if you expect too much, Lady Amanta raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Hurt? Ellie's expression darkened slightly. I don't think you're really becoming their family anyway. Everyone is just following the Duke's orders. I'm only becoming part of their family because Duke Schuetz thinks I might be of some use. Lady Amanta took a deep breath, her voice steady. Then I'll do my best, Ellie furrowed her brow. Do your best? For what? Lady Amanta looked at her with gentle sincerity. So that I don't inconvenience you, Lord Amanta, and Sir Jarrett. Ellie blinked in confusion. Miss Ellie, being family isn't a relationship born of necessity. Loving and taking care of each other is what's important. Ellie's gaze softened, but she was still uncertain. Lady Amanta smiled warmly, continuing, I remember what someone once told me. Being born into this world alone is more than enough for those around you. Ellie was silent for a moment, the words sinking in. Lady Amanta's smile grew tender. So, you don't have to push yourself, Miss Ellie. You are more than enough as you are. Ellie looked away, her eyes filled with emotion. No one has ever told me that before. Lady Amanta chuckled softly. There you are, Miss Ellie, Ellie greeted. Hello, Sir Jarrett. Jarrett Amanta responded. I was in the middle of practicing archery as well. What a coincidence. He seemed flustered. Did he come to ask about the bow? Ellie's face lit up as she eagerly replied. The bow is really great. It's well crafted and works very well. I'm so happy with it. Jarrett smiled, relieved. Really? I'm glad you like it. I did my very best to make sure it'd be something you'd like. Shall I show you how to properly shoot an arrow? He offered. Ellie's eyes sparkled. Yes, please. First, you have to hold the bow like this. Jarrett demonstrated. Lady Amanta, watching them, smiled and remarked, I haven't seen you so happy in quite some time. If I'd known, I would have given you a younger sister. Ellie glanced at her and muttered, Mother! But Lady Amanta pretended not to hear. Jarrett continued, I heard that Waybrock is forging powerful swords these days. He was changing the subject. Lady Amanta nodded. That's true. He has thousands of swords to make, but there's only one of him. It's not easy. Anyway, everyone is doing their best. Jarrett turned back to Ellie. All right. Are you ready to give it a go? Pull it back more. Ellie was focused, then remarked, Well, Waybrock has to deal with dangerous monsters to make the swords. It makes sense that it would be difficult to find suitable assistants for him. I hadn't thought of that. Jarrett replied, deep in thought. He's probably exhausted, too. It's always one step forward, one step back. Suddenly, Ellie missed the mark. I wasn't paying attention. I'll go get it. She ran after the arrow, but at least it hadn't gone too far. However, as she ran, her eyes widened. What's that? A rain cloud? Why aren't the birds flying away? Are they coming after me? Did someone set them up to do this? Ellie froze, watching the birds. Do you have something to say to me? The birds didn't call, and Ellie's heart raced. One crow flew closer, then, impossibly, transformed into a person. That crow just turned into a person, Ellie gasped. Just what kind of crow is that? The figure smirked. So it's you, the child from the lake. Human child, are you close with that hammer? Ellie blinked, confused. What hammer? I'm not a lightning god or something. The stranger's eyes gleamed. I heard you cured him of his blindness. Ellie's eyes widened. So he was talking about Waybrock. Is he angry that I cured him? Is he an enemy of Waybrock? The figure's tone shifted, as if both relieved and surprised. You saved our master! Ellie stepped back, alarmed. What? The mysterious figure's voice held a strange certainty. I believed you'd save him from the moment you arrived at the castle. I'm quite good at reading people, you see. Ellie stood frozen as the figure's eyes scanned the arrowhead in his hand, examining it carefully. Did our master make this? He mused, his fingers grazing the sharp edge. The stranger seemed to consider it for a moment. Perhaps not, he added, a hint of doubt in his voice. Ellie's thoughts raced. What are they talking about? Why is Waybrock there? Master? The confusion settled into unease as the figure continued handling the arrowhead with casual disregard, as if its sharpness held no threat to him at all. Then, her eyes widened. Wait a minute. He's touching the arrowhead with his bare hands. But it's not hurting him. A sudden realization hit her. This is it. Her mind pieced the puzzle together in an instant. This person was no ordinary man. He was likely one of the powerful beings tied to the mysteries of the sword and the monsters Waybrock faced. His ability to touch the arrow without harm confirmed it. He had some form of resistance or immunity, something extraordinary. Who are you really? Ellie's voice wavered with a mix of fear and curiosity. What do you want from us? The crow figure's tone shifted slightly as he continued. Yes, child. We are members of a clan whose ancestors forged legendary weapons, including the holy sword of the imperial family. But after the death of our chief, our clan lost its way. Our ability to create such powerful weaponry faded. That was when we saw Waybrock's work, the hammer's sword. It was unlike anything we had seen in years, and we recognized his raw talent. We've considered him our master ever since. Ellie's thoughts raced. So, does that mean these crow people are members of that legendary clan? The figure's voice softened as he continued. But then, he locked himself away and stopped forging swords. We were devastated. But when you healed his eyes, allowing him to see again, you gave him the chance to craft weapons once more. That's why we're here, to thank you. To repay you for what you've done. Ellie's eyes widened with realization. You're our savior. The significance of their words dawned on her. That's right. Our savior. A surge of pride and confusion mixed within her as she glanced over at Sir Jarrett, who had been watching the exchange carefully, his eyes still full of protective concern for her. What's going on? Well, this means that they have a high opinion of me and Waybrock, right? Ellie thought, her mind racing with possibilities. Then it shouldn't be too hard to persuade them. She gathered her composure, her voice steady as she asked. So, does Waybrock know of your clan? The situation was growing more surreal by the second. Ellie stood, frozen, as Talem and the others spoke with a sense of urgency and reverence towards Waybrock. They clearly wanted to prove themselves, but the unfamiliarity of it all left Ellie both amazed and a little perplexed. Talem, holding up the arrow he had been examining, said with conviction, We'll make you one that's far better. Ellie glanced at Waybrock, who was still holding the hammer, his brow furrowed as he surveyed the crow people. An arrow? Waybrock echoed, his voice full of skepticism but a hint of curiosity. And you think you can improve it? The crow people nodded in unison, their eyes gleaming with determination. Talem continued, Our clan specializes in crafting the finest weaponry, including arrows that are sharper than steel and imbued with an element of divine power. If you will allow us, we'll show you how skilled we truly are. Ellie looked between the two groups, Waybrock, still unsure of whether to trust them, and the crow people, eager to prove their worth. Her mind raced as she tried to make sense of everything that was happening. So, they want to prove their worth through their weapons, Ellie thought. If they can truly create something better, maybe this will be their way of earning Waybrock's approval, and maybe they'll finally get the chance to learn from him. She turned to Waybrock, her voice steady but filled with hope. I think they're sincere. Maybe this could be the start of something, an apprenticeship, just like they said. Waybrock's gaze softened slightly as he looked at her. You have faith in them? Ellie nodded, her heart racing. I don't know if I can trust them entirely yet, but they seem to want the same thing as us. The only way to know for sure is to give them a chance. All right, Waybrock finally said, the weight of his decision settling over him. Show me what you can do. With that, Talem and his clan members sprang into action, eager to prove themselves. Ellie watched them work, her thoughts still swirling. This is all happening so quickly. But if this is how things are meant to unfold, maybe we're one step closer to what we all need. Waybrock was still cautious, but there was a glimmer of interest in his eyes now. Ellie had a feeling that, for better or worse, her life, along with the future of these strange new allies, was about to change in ways she couldn't predict. Jarrett's eyes twinkled with an amused glint as he watched Ellie and Talem's subtle exchange. The crow people were eager, their enthusiasm infectious, but Ellie knew this moment was crucial. If everything went according to plan, they'd get the apprenticeships they needed, but she also needed to ensure her role in this negotiation wasn't overlooked. Talem, following Ellie's instructions, maintained a stern face as he snorted through his nose, mimicking the haughty gesture she had shown him. And no way, never! He added, his voice thick with feigned defiance. Jarrett raised an eyebrow, clearly confused, but intrigued. He looked over at Waybrock, who still seemed to be weighing the situation. The slight grin on his face suggested he was starting to understand their game. Ellie, with a practiced smile, nodded at the crow people. I think they're ready to discuss terms, she said, her voice smooth and diplomatic, masking her inner excitement. This is it. This is how we play this. If they think the negotiations are complicated without me, I'll have more leverage. Waybrock's lips twitched, his gaze shifting between Ellie and the excited crow people. His usual stoic expression faltered for a moment as he caught on to the dynamic playing out before him. I see, he said, letting the word hang in the air. It seems there's more to this than meets the eye. Jarrett, still observing the interaction, spoke with a hint of amusement. Well, Miss Ellie, he said, his tone playful but respectful, I'd say your friends have quite a unique way of negotiating. I'm curious to see how this all turns out. Ellie's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. It's a skill they've honed over the years, she said, giving the crow people a small nod. As for the apprenticeship, I'll need to ask them if they're willing to work full-time. It's not something they've considered yet. Talem and his companions nodded enthusiastically, eager to prove their worth but still uncertain about the specifics. We are ready to work, Master. We will forge the best swords, they chorused in unison. Ellie glanced at Waybrock, gauging his response. What do you think? She asked, her voice almost too sweet, as if she had been the one steering the conversation all along. Waybrock looked at her, his expression unreadable. He glanced once more at the crow people before answering. We'll see what they're capable of, he said, his voice measured. But I expect no less than excellence. If they're truly worthy of the title, we'll proceed with the arrangement. Jarrett, still intrigued, nodded. Well then, it seems we have an agreement. We'll discuss further terms once you're ready. Ellie exhaled, a quiet sigh of relief escaping her lips. This is working. Just a bit longer, and everything will fall into place. I'll make sure they have the upper hand, but I'll have mine too. She turned to Talem and his clan, a sense of pride swelling in her chest as she saw their determination and eagerness to learn. This was only the beginning, but Ellie had already started to carve her role into the future of the Duchy of Schuetz. Ellie's heart skipped a beat as she heard the unexpected voice in the dark. The familiar figure of Auntie, the usually calm and composed servant, was standing there, his face twisted with anger as he raised his hand toward Duke Schuetz. The shock of the situation sent a rush of adrenaline through her veins. Why is he attacking Duke Schuetz? Ellie thought, struggling to process what she was witnessing. Auntie had always been respectful, but there was something about the way he moved now, almost like a shadow, as though he were a different person entirely. Duke Schuetz, who had been walking ahead with an air of quiet dignity, was caught off guard by the attack. His hand instinctively went to the hilt of his sword, but he didn't draw it. His eyes locked with Auntie's, confusion mixed with something darker. Auntie, what are you doing? Duke Schuetz asked, his voice steady but with a sharp edge. This isn't like you. Auntie's eyes were wild, his expression almost feral. I'm sorry, Your Grace, he said, though his words sounded more like an apology to himself than to the Duke. I can't stop. It's the only way to. Ellie's mind raced. What was Auntie talking about? What could drive him to this extreme? She glanced around quickly, trying to gather her thoughts. There was no time to waste. She had to act fast to protect Duke Schuetz. Before she could even move, the weight of the situation suddenly hit her. This wasn't just an outburst. Something deeper was at play. Ellie could feel a strange pressure in the air, as if unseen forces were manipulating events behind the scenes. She had learned enough to know that people in positions like Auntie's often weren't acting of their own accord. Was someone controlling him? Or was there some other force at work? Stop! Ellie shouted, stepping forward, her voice breaking the tension like a sharp knife. Auntie, what's going on? You don't have to do this. Auntie flinched, his hand wavering in midair as he seemed to struggle against an invisible force. For a moment, his eyes cleared, but only for a brief second. Then they darkened again, and he tightened his grip on the object in his hand, a knife, now visible in the dim light. The Duke didn't flinch, but Ellie could see his patience thinning. Auntie, explain yourself, he said, his voice still calm, but with an unmistakable firmness. Ellie took a step closer, her heart pounding in her chest. It's okay, Auntie, she said, her voice as soothing as she could make it. You don't need to do this. Whatever's happening, we can figure it out together. Auntie hesitated, his body trembling slightly as if he were caught in a mental struggle. Ellie noticed a faint glow that had begun to appear in his eyes. It was subtle but unmistakable, a sign of magic, or something even darker. I can't," Auntie whispered, his voice strained. "I have to do this, or they. Ellie's mind snapped to attention. Who was he talking about? Was he being controlled? Who was behind this? Before she could ask further, the situation took an even darker turn. A voice, cold and commanding, echoed from the shadows. "Step aside, Miss Ellie." Ellie froze as she recognized the voice. It was the last person she had expected to hear in this moment. "Lord Schuetz?" she whispered, barely able to contain the shock in her voice. But it wasn't Lord Schuetz who emerged from the darkness. Instead, it was a man cloaked in shadow, his face hidden beneath a dark hood. He stepped into the moonlight, revealing a cruel smile as he surveyed the scene. "I'm afraid Auntie is only a pawn in a much larger game," he said, his voice dripping with malice. Ellie's stomach dropped as realization hit. Who is this? And what does he want with Duke Schuetz? Ellie's mind raced as she processed everything unfolding before her. The strange situation, Auntie's violent outburst, and Duke Schuetz's bizarre behavior. It was all too much. But the key piece of the puzzle had fallen into place. The Duke wasn't acting like this out of malice. It was something much deeper, a curse or affliction that he was unable to control. Ellie's heart softened slightly at the realization, even as she remained wary of the danger surrounding them. "Nightmares?" Ellie asked, her voice steady despite the strange turn of events. Her curiosity sparked, but she also felt a pang of sympathy for the Duke. What kind of nightmares could torment someone like him? Duke Schuetz nodded, his expression unreadable but tinged with an emotion she couldn't quite place. "Yes, nightmares. But they are not just dreams. They are something else." His gaze shifted downward, as if the weight of his words was too much to bear. Ellie took a step forward, determined not to let the tension in the air swallow her whole. "Is it because of the madness you were speaking of earlier?" "I don't think it's really madness. There's something else going on, isn't there?" The Duke looked at her, clearly surprised by her perceptiveness. You're not wrong," he muttered, his voice low. "It's not madness, but the madness is a part of it. Something inside me, something dark, that never lets me forget." He fell silent, his hands clenched at his sides, and for a moment, Ellie saw the full weight of his suffering. Who had been standing in the background, stepped forward, his voice slightly strained. "Your Grace, maybe it's time we let Miss Ellie rest. You've been through too much tonight." Ellie wasn't ready to leave, not just yet. Something in the Duke's tone told her that the situation was more complicated than it seemed, and she had to understand more. She turned to Auntie. "I don't think I should leave just yet. You're right about one thing. He doesn't seem like he's fully in control of himself." Auntie's gaze flickered briefly, as if uncertain whether to argue. But then he sighed. "I suppose you're right. But the Duke doesn't need anyone pitying him. What he needs now is rest, not more questions." Ellie shook her head, her eyes locked on the Duke. "It's not pity. It's concern. I want to help. If it's nightmares causing all this, maybe there's something I can do. I've seen strange things in my life, and if you'll allow me, I'll do my best to understand what's happening to you." Duke Schuetz looked at her, his expression softening just a fraction. "Why would you help me? After all that's happened?" Ellie didn't hesitate, her voice clear and sincere. "Because you need help, and I've seen enough to know that you don't deserve to suffer in silence. Whatever this is, we can figure it out together." For a moment, it seemed as though the Duke might say something, but instead, he simply nodded. "Very well," he said quietly. "You have a point." Auntie stepped back, clearly not pleased with the change in direction. "Miss Ellie, I must insist that you rest. His Grace is not in a state to discuss things any further tonight." Ellie hesitated but finally nodded, understanding that pushing too hard could cause more harm than good. "I'll go for now," she said, her voice softer, but before she left, she turned back to the Duke. "But I'll be here when you're ready to talk. You're not alone in this." As she walked away, she felt a strange sense of resolve settle over her. This was just the beginning. Ellie knew that the darkness the Duke carried with him was more than just an illness. It was something much deeper, and she was determined to help him confront it. Ellie felt her chest tighten at the question. The Duke's inquiry about her mother seemed innocent enough, but there was a weight behind it that made her pause. She had long buried thoughts of her mother, memories from a time before her life had changed so drastically. She hesitated, trying to steady her voice before speaking. Her name was Lila, Ellie replied quietly, looking down at her hands. She worked hard, always trying to make sure I had what I needed. I don't really remember much else, to be honest. Duke Schuetz was silent for a long moment, his eyes distant as if contemplating something deep. Lila, he repeated softly. I see. Ellie shifted uncomfortably. Why do you ask? She inquired, still wary of where this conversation might lead. The Duke didn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes seemed to darken slightly, the shadows of his past creeping into his expression. It's just strange, he muttered under his breath, though Ellie could still catch the hint of confusion in his tone. I thought I'd heard that name before. But that's not important right now. Ellie felt a prickling sense of unease. She knew there was more to this story, but it wasn't the time to pry. The Duke had shared so little about himself already, and his mood seemed to shift with every passing second. She cleared her throat, trying to bring the conversation back to safer ground. You asked if I had nightmares, Your Grace? But I think, maybe you're the one who needs to rest the most. Her voice softened as she continued. You've been carrying a lot of pain, and I don't think sleep will come easily for you until you let some of it go. Duke Schuetz didn't respond immediately, and for a moment, Ellie thought he might brush off her words. But then, to her surprise, he sat up slightly, his eyes meeting hers. You're right, he said quietly. I've been holding on to so much, too much. Ellie smiled gently, feeling the weight of the moment settle between them. Then let me stay with you a little longer. You don't have to face everything alone. For a brief moment, the Duke seemed to soften, his usual guarded demeanor slipping just enough for Ellie to see the flicker of vulnerability hidden beneath. Then, with a deep sigh, he nodded. All right, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Stay. Just stay with me tonight. Ellie nodded, moving to sit beside him, ready to offer whatever comfort she could. As she sat there in the quiet of the night, she couldn't help but feel a deeper connection to the man before her, a man who, like her, was carrying burdens far heavier than anyone should have to, and perhaps, in this strange moment of shared silence, they could find some peace. Ellie stood in the corner of the room, her mind racing after the Duke's apology and his unexpected admission. She couldn't quite make sense of what he'd said, especially as his words seemed to drift off into sleep. His last words, I'm also sorry for suspecting you all this time, hung in the air, leaving Ellie confused. What had he been suspecting her of? Was he referring to her presence, her actions, or something deeper? She shook her head, trying to dismiss the thought. He's sleeping. It doesn't matter now. She glanced over at the Duke, who was now fully asleep, his features softened in the peace of slumber. Despite the rough edges he displayed during the day, Ellie couldn't deny that he looked different in sleep. He appeared almost vulnerable. It made her heart ache a little. I shouldn't let it bother me. He had enough on his plate without her adding to it. Turning her attention away from the Duke, Ellie heard voices coming from outside the room. It was the priests, and their visit always brought with it a sense of warmth and community that the children of the orphanage treasured. The mention of bread was enough to make Ellie smile. It was rare to see the children excited about anything, but the priest's visits always meant a feast. Ellie gathered herself, brushing away any lingering thoughts about the Duke, and hurried to join the others outside. The children were already gathered, eagerly awaiting their share of blessings and bread. Thank you for the offerings, Ellie called, approaching the priests with a polite bow, her eyes scanning the room for the younger children who would need help with their portions. Her mind still lingered on the conversation from earlier, but she pushed it aside for now. The kids needed her, and she had work to do. As she moved through the group, she overheard the priest speaking about the world tree's blessings, a symbol of hope and renewal that seemed almost too far removed from her reality. Still, Ellie couldn't help but feel the warmth of the moment, the feeling of belonging, even if it was fleeting. The children excitedly devoured the bread, and Ellie found herself helping a young girl with a piece that had fallen from her hands. She smiled warmly, remembering what it felt like to be cared for when she was younger, how small gestures could sometimes feel like the biggest acts of kindness. As the children ate, Ellie stole another glance at the door where the Duke slept, wondering what was truly going on behind his facade. I'll have to find out soon, she thought. But for now, I'll just be here. The peaceful atmosphere around her was a stark contrast to the turmoil that was still stirring inside her. Would things ever calm down? Would she ever truly understand the Duke, or herself for that matter? For the moment, Ellie let the simple joy of the children's laughter wash over her. It was enough to distract her from the complexities of her situation, if only for a while. Grace exclaimed, "Ellie? Oh, so Ellie is a priest! Ellie! It's me, Grace. It's so good to see you again." But then, confusion crept in. "Wait, you're not Ellie," a maid nearby shouted. "Grace! Just what are you doing to that priest?" Grace quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. I thought she was my friend," Ellie reassured her. "It's quite all right. I suppose I look a lot like your friend. We're from very different families, so I haven't been able to see her since the first time we met." Ellie thought to herself, "She has pretty green eyes, just like you." But Grace responded, "That's quite odd. There's no one in this territory with green eyes." Ellie raised an eyebrow. "Oh, is that so?" Grace confirmed. "Yes, at least not in the north. If it's not too much trouble, could you tell me more about your friend?" Ellie smiled warmly. "Safe travels. Come back next time. May the sun and the world tree bestow their blessings upon you." As the exchange ended, Sister Ovely, ever diligent, complimented her. "Excellent work today," Ellie quietly replied. "You as well, sister." Later, Ellie reflected on the day's experience. It was disgusting. To think I had to put my lips to an orphan's forehead to baptize them, and to think there's a child with green eyes at the Duchy of Schuetz. I tolerated these vagrants, and for what? My efforts were for nothing. Meanwhile, Sister Ovely remarked, "Your eyes look almost orange today." Ellie, slightly startled, replied, "What?" "The sunset is casting light on your face, so your eyes look orange." As the conversation continued, Sister Ovely admitted feeling tired. "I'm feeling a little tired after blessing so many people today. I think I'd like to shut my eyes for a moment. Could you wake me up when we reach the temple?" Ellie agreed. "Of course. Sleep tight." However, Ellie's thoughts were interrupted by a strange sensation. The potion shouldn't have worn off this quickly. "What's going on?" she thought. As her eyes shifted back to normal, she whispered, "That was a close one. Still up to your old tricks, I see." Just then, she received an urgent message from her father. She was about to call him when he abruptly asked, "Are you talking about the Kleider boy? I heard that Duke Schuetz found him." Ellie responded, "What are you talking about? What is that you wanted to tell me?" Her father, frustrated, snapped, "Do you have any idea how expensive it was to send you to the temple? And all because you said you'd find the boy. You fool." Ellie apologized. "I'm sorry, father." But her father's anger grew. "You better find a way, Livia Fragile. You know, don't you? If it hadn't been for that wench Vuria, you would have become Duchess Schuetz. We need to find a way to free ourselves from being the Empire's lapdogs." The conversation took a darker turn as her father added, "At first, it was on my father's order, but then I found myself desperately wanting to become part of the Schuetz family. I'll do anything to be by Duke Schuetz's side, even if it means I have to marry the Kleider boy." Ellie pondered the ominous words. "There are lots of monsters here. If you don't want to die, you'd better be careful. We're both loners, so we'd be a good match for each other." Her father continued, "Report back to me soon. That's why." "What do you think?" Ellie was left feeling conflicted. "It's kind of awkward. But it's so cute," she thought as a plan began to form in her mind. "Let's try another hairstyle." Finally, she resolved, "I'll do anything to take her place." "You're the best, Miss Ellie!" The crowd cheered, their admiration for her evident. "Do it again, Miss Ellie!" "Miss Ellie, you're amazing!" 3 cheers for Miss Ellie. Ellie smiled at their excitement, thinking to herself, well, as long as they're happy. But her thoughts were interrupted when she noticed, why is Sir Rainer here? Franz, standing nearby, explained. They're such hardcore fans. We managed to find the band of thieves Miss Ellie alerted us about. He continued. They're also associated with a wanted criminal, so we discovered their residence through torture. Ellie, clearly impressed by the success of the mission, added with a touch of humor. It's Miss Ellie and the servants. My secret skill! Shooting. Upside down, be careful, Miss Ellie! Someone cautioned as the group watched her perform. Impressive! Duke Schuetz remarked from the sidelines. I heard that Miss Ellie enjoys archery a lot. Tremendously even. Franz smirked. Of course she likes it. I gave her the bow, after all, the Duke, eager to see her in action, added. I ought to go watch her shoot. Just then, a voice called out. Your Grace. One of the servants was hurrying toward him. Wait just a moment, Your Grace, he exclaimed. The Duke, slightly confused, responded. I'm too old for this. As the servant explained, Your Grace, Miss Ellie was feeling tired, so I was going to bring her inside. He turned back to Ellie with concern. Good day, Your Grace. Are you hurt? Ellie smiled, reassuring him. No, I just wanted to stop before my arm started hurting. I see, the Duke said with a smile, before turning to Rainer. Rainer. You said you had a son, yes? Rainer replied. Yes, I have 3. The Duke asked with interest. Is that so? As he noticed Rainer holding Ellie, he commented. This is how you hold a child. Ellie laughed. Wow. This is so much more comfortable. Not that I was uncomfortable when Sir Rainer was holding me. But she quickly added with a grin. You agree, don't you? Rainer looked flustered. I can't just admit that. The conversation shifted as Ellie noticed her bow. This is the bow that Lord Amanta gave me. It's much better than any other bow I've ever used. Franz, looking uncomfortable, asked. Where is the bow that I gifted her? The Duke, raising an eyebrow, replied. About that, Your Grace. It seems like the Duke gave me a bow too, he smiled knowingly. I think I understand what's going on here. Rainer, flustered, interjected. Your Grace. Ellie quickly chimed in. I like the bow that you gave me best of all. Truly. You have good taste for a child. She added quickly. I'm not a child. Franz, amused, teased. Miss Ellie saved me. Ellie, seeing the tension, whispered to Franz. Don't get too emotional, Franz. I lied for my sake. I have to stay on the Duke's good side if I want to survive, after all. The conversation shifted as the Duke noticed. Have you been eating properly? You look quite gaunt. Franz quickly replied. But I've gained weight. Of course I'm getting enough to eat. The Duke frowned, his tone serious. This won't do. At this rate, you'll be all skin and bones. He paused for a moment, then added. Wait, Duke Schuetz, smiling, suggested. Let's head to the dining room. He paused for a moment, then added. Wait, listen to me for a second. To think you couldn't eat more than that. I suppose that's why you have such a small frame. He gave her a teasing look. Anyone could tell you that I ate way too much. Anyway, where are you headed next? Will you take me there? Ellie, a little surprised, responded. Do you think I'm your personal coachman? The Duke raised an eyebrow, smirking. You're the one who's refused to let me down. Your actions don't match your words, Ellie shrugged. Of course not. I do have someplace to be, though. She hesitated before adding. Well, the training hall? Do you want to learn how to use a sword now that you've mastered the bow? The Duke asked, genuinely curious. Ellie hesitated, shaking her head. No, this kind of intense training would be too difficult for me. Then why? Just then, Damian called out. Ellie, Damian! Ellie responded, her face lighting up. Is your training going well? Damian asked eagerly. I promised I'd come to watch you train, remember? Have you eaten lunch yet? Not yet, Ellie replied, smiling. I'll finish up quickly so we can eat lunch together. Sorry, I ate before I came, Damian said casually. Ellie raised an eyebrow. With who? With His Grace, Damian replied, his eyes narrowing slightly. Ellie could feel Damian's eyes on her, like a predator watching its prey. But she reminded herself, he's still just a little puppy, though. From the Duke's perspective, he reflected, even if I want to help him, he's still wary of me, so I'm not sure how. Ellie. Damian spoke again, looking almost vulnerable. You'll still eat with me from now on, right? I trained so hard too, Ellie chuckled softly. What are you talking about? Of course we'll eat together. Really? Damian asked, looking relieved. Of course. Who would I eat with otherwise? Ellie responded, a teasing smile on her face, typical of a Clyder. The Duke muttered with a smirk. Conniving at every opportunity, Ellie raised an eyebrow. Then, from now on, I suppose the three of us can eat together. Oh? The Duke replied, clearly intrigued. This is a chance for Damian to get closer to the Duke. He smiled. What a good idea. I'd like that. Well, if Ellie wants to. Damian murmured, his tone filled with hope. Ellie laughed softly, noticing Damian's adorable reaction. His reaction is pretty cute, she mused. Damian blinked. Does that mean I have to eat lunch again, Your Grace? No, the Duke replied with a chuckle. We'll eat supper together. Later, at the table, Ellie excitedly encouraged. Ellie, do you want to try this? Try this one too. This is tasty as well. You'll feel sick if you eat so fast. The Duke cautioned with a smirk. Take your time. Ellie grinned and offered Damian more food. Try this. Do you like it? How is it? As she looked at Damian's 10th plate, she shrugged. I'm not even sure anymore. She laughed and then added. You two should eat too. Please, Ellie. So that's what happened with Damian and his Grace yesterday. It sounds like you're getting a lot of love, Lady Amanta. Love, Ellie? I don't think so. His Grace just enjoys teasing me, that's all. Just look at me. I've gained a lot of weight, haven't I? Lady Amanta laughed softly. I'm not sure about that. Suddenly, someone enters the room. Sir Rainer. Miss Ellie? Good day. Where are you headed, Ellie? We're going to patrol the duchy. We'll be away from the castle for a few days. Most of the Black Lions will come with us. Don't cause any trouble while I'm gone, Sir Rainer grinning. I won't, Ellie, pausing for a moment. Franz, Lady Amanta, and Sir Jarrett will be here too. Hang in there, Your Grace, Sir Rainer. Ah, you must be very close to all of them. You're acting like Sir Jarrett is your guardian now, Ellie. His family will adopt me soon, so isn't that natural? Duke Schuetz, noticing Ellie's remark. I should have known once you started your lessons together. Ellie, Your Grace, Duke Schuetz. It's time for us to leave, Ellie, muttering under her breath. I'll miss my chance if I don't give it to him now. Ellie runs to catch up to the Duke as he prepares to leave. Ellie, Your Grace. Take this. She quickly hands him the knotted tassel. Duke Schuetz. It's a knotted tassel you made with Lady Amanta? Ellie. I know it's not much, but it's a token that's said to keep you safe. Ellie, embarrassed. I knew this would be embarrassing. You don't have to take it with you if you don't like it. Duke Schuetz softly, a small smile playing at his lips. I appreciate the gesture, Miss Ellie. Thank you, Ellie blushing. You're welcome. Duke Schuetz, patting Ellie on the shoulder. Enough. You did a pretty shabby job. I'd better hang on to it so I can tease you for the rest of your life. Ellie flustered. I don't think it's shabby. Duke Schuetz smirking. I'm joking. It's quite pretty. Thank you. I'll be off now. Take care of yourself until I return. As the Duke walks away, Ellie's thoughts race. Ellie's thoughts. He patted me. The Duke praised me for the first time that day. Safe travels. His words felt as big and warm as his hand. A few days later, Ellie is at the forge. Talem, this is your latest creation. Can Damian hold it too? Sir Jarrett grinning. Of course. It's nice, right? Not too heavy? Ellie. Yeah, it's lighter than I thought. I'm glad. It seems like he likes it. He's gotten so much better at using a sword. Ellie. Did you come to see the finished sword, Miss Ellie? Ellie, seeing Waybrock. Waybrock looks like he's recovered. I'm glad he's healthy now. Waybrock. Who's that boy next to you? Ellie. Oh, you've never met him, have you? This is Damian. Damian, this is Talem. He's been helping Waybrock make swords. Say hi. It's okay, he's a good person. Damian, grumbling. Savior, how old is that child? Ellie, oh, he'll be 12 years old soon. Damian, is that so? Then that's not too bad for a child his age. Ellie, brightening up. Would you two like to come to the market? Lord Amanta is finally letting Sir Jarrett take control of production at the Merchant Guild. We were going to do some market research together. Talem, I appreciate that, but we have to decline. There's something we'd like to forge instead. Our master has to help, so he can't go either. Ellie, you're making another new weapon? What is it this time? Ellie's thoughts. Why was Talem acting like that? Was he inspired by Damian's eyes because they look like blue gems? This isn't the time. Ellie to herself. Now that we're at the market, I have to focus on finding new ideas. We should go down a street we haven't seen before. Suddenly, Ellie feels a strange sensation. Ellie's thoughts. I just felt someone looking at me. Who could it be? The band of thieves shouldn't be around anymore. Ellie, whispering to Damian. This way, Damian. We better find Sir Jarrett, just in case. Or get back to the carriage, at least. As they continue down the street, a foul stench fills the air. Ellie, something smells weird. It's a rotten, foul stench. Suddenly, Damian shouts. Damian, shouting. Ellie! Sir Raynor, frustrated. Those useless priests couldn't even purify one of these. We're only managing to move at this speed because Baron Amanta is taking care of the encampment. Ellie, distracted. Yes? Sir Raynor, curious. What do you think it means to be family? Ellie, taken aback. I beg your pardon? Sir Raynor, musing. I'm not sure. That's a difficult question to answer. Generally, I suppose it means that the parents would do anything for their children, and that their children would trust them as they continue to develop and grow. Ellie, thoughtful. I see. Sir Raynor, pointing out. Your Grace, think of Baron and Baroness Amanta and Sir Jarrett. They consider Ellie as one of their own, do they not? That's what a family is. Ellie, surprised. So, she's like a daughter to the Baron. Sir Raynor, caught off guard. Hey, wait! You can't say that, Sir Raynor, stumbling over his words. That was a slip of the tongue. I meant that the Baron sees her as a granddaughter, not a daughter. He isn't exactly young, after all. Ellie, confused. Wait, why don't people talk about me like that? Sir Raynor, sighing. I'd do anything for those children too. Let's finish up and head back quickly. Once we return, I ought to ask them about the things they learned. Meanwhile, Ellie is still thinking, lost in her thoughts. Ellie's thoughts. Could I be that man's daughter? My mom never told me about my dad, so I always assumed he'd be a homeless wanderer like her. But if he's really my dad, why didn't he come for me sooner? Suddenly, Ashel runs up to Ellie. Ashel, worried. Miss Ellie! Miss Ellie, are you all right? Are you hurt? Ellie, brushing herself off. Ashel! I was just a little surprised, but I'm fine. Damian, rushing over. Ellie, are you okay? Did you get hurt? Ellie, laughing it off. Don't worry. I'm totally fine. Take a look. It's nothing. Once Sir Jarrett comes, we'll call the knights and have the kidnapper apprehended. His Grace will handle the rest once he's back. Ellie, noticing the smell. What in the world is that smell? Suddenly, Damian starts speaking with an apologetic tone. Damian, hesitant. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I was worried that my daughter would run away, just like my wife. On the day she left, my wife told me that my daughter has blonde hair and green eyes, just like me. Ellie's thoughts, shocked. What does that mean? I could be that man's daughter. Ellie, panicking, trying to process. This is so loud. Miss Ellie, what's going on? Meanwhile, Grace appears, asking in confusion. Grace, Ellie? What are you doing with this man? Grace, with a look of concern. Grace, Ellie, calmly, trying to assess the situation. I should ask you the same thing. Ovely, explaining with a gentle tone. Would you mind if I explained? I'm Ovely, a priest from the great temple of the north. I live on the streets and aid those in emotional pain. This man is one such person. He suddenly broke away, saying that he had found his daughter. There's blood on your hands. Grace, stepping forward, trying to defend. Grace and I followed him, just in case. That doesn't exactly justify his actions, though. There's also no proof that Miss Ellie is his daughter. Ovely, firm but compassionate. There might not be any evidence, but he was simply looking for his child. He didn't do anything wrong. There's also no evidence that she's not his daughter. What makes you the judge of that? Damian, glaring, his voice cold. Ellie is the one that got hurt. Only Ellie has the right to say whether or not he was wrong. Not you, Ovly, a bit flustered but trying to keep calm. I think you're mistaken, Damian, interrupting, his tone firm. I simply meant tend to her wounds. Damian, addressing Ovly with icy politeness. You're a priest, aren't you? Don't you think you should be more concerned about the person who got hurt? Ellie, thinking to herself, recalling their first meeting. It's just like the first day we met. Though, he's changed a lot since then. Thanks to Damian, I don't feel so shaken anymore. I should think carefully and calmly about this situation. First of all, there's no way to confirm whether or not that man is my biological father. That means all I can do now is not let my emotions get the best of me, and do my best to solve this issue. Ellie, gritting her teeth as pain surges through her. That hurts. Damian, noticing Ellie wince. Ellie! Are you okay? Ellie, forcing a smile to reassure him. My apologies. I should have tended to you first. Could you show me where you got hurt? Ellie, pointing to her side. Yes, wait. Damian, frowning, noticing Ovly's hesitance. Sister Ovly! You'll heal me with your divine power, right? Since that power can heal wounds instantly. Ovly, apologetically shaking her head. I'm sorry. Priests are not allowed to use their divine power unless it's absolutely necessary. I'll heal you with holy water instead. Damian, surprised. What? But I heard they always use it for the other nobles. So why not now? I wanted to see the mystical divine power up close. Ellie, confused, noticing Ovly's hesitation. Does she have something against me? Damian, glancing at Ovly with a hard expression. Is that really holy water? There's a rotten smell coming from you. Ovly, angrily, her voice rising. What in the world are you implying? How dare you? Do you have any idea what that is? Ovly, looking at Damian, her thoughts racing. His eyes look familiar. Where have I seen him before? Ovly, to herself, more urgently. I need a potion that will change the color of my hair and eyes. That won't be difficult, but it may take some time to prepare. I need it within the week. Ovly, frustrated. What? I need at least 10 days. I can't do it in just a week. How filthy. Ovly, shocked realization. Wait, I remember him. He's that test subject from the apothecary. Ovly, thinking, trying to stay composed despite the rising tension. I had no idea that he was the son of Duke Schuetz. I could have had him back then. But I took the easy way out. So that's how he knew it wasn't holy water. Ovly, with a sinister thought, gripping the edge of her cloak. But there's no way for that naive little boy to prove it. I won't let him ruin my plans. Grace, speaking up, trying to defuse the situation. Wait. That was a bit harsh, don't you think? Priests like her are saviors to us orphans. Don't be so rude. Damian, his anger flaring, his voice ice cold. I was just telling the truth. Seriously? Ellie interrupting, her voice firm and calm despite the chaos around her. Calm down, you two. Damian, turning to Ellie, voice sharp with frustration. But Ellie, holding up a hand to stop him, her voice steady and composed. I know, Damian. I know you'd never say something like that if you didn't have a reason. But Ovly is a priest from the temple, and the temple and the emperor are close allies. We can't give them a reason to target you. Ellie pauses, looking between Ovly and Damian, her thoughts swirling. If that's not holy water, then what could it be? And why did she try to give me that? Ellie softly, almost regretfully to herself. I know it's all my fault. But I felt it instinctively. You can't make claims like that recklessly. His voice trembling with frustration and a hint of sadness. If you're telling the truth, then what's your wife's name? Or the last place you met? Man, his voice faltering, growing defensive. I don't know. I've always lived as a wanderer, so I'm not sure where it was. And my wife used multiple aliases, and she never told me her real name. Ellie, thinking to herself, the pieces of the puzzle slowly falling into place. Well, it's true that wanderers change their names from time to time. My mother was an infamous thief to boot. It makes sense that she wouldn't have revealed her true name. His story matches. Ellie pauses, her face hardening. So you're saying you have no definite evidence? May, stepping forward, her tone dismissive but concerned for Ellie. Miss Ellie, There's no reason to entertain this man's delusions any longer. Let's go home and make sure you're all right, Sister Ovli, coldly, with a flicker of annoyance. Don't be so unfeeling. This child and her parent have been brought together through God's providence. As God's representative, I will confirm their relationship through the use of holy water. Jared Amanta, surprised, his tone skeptical. Is that even possible? Sister Ovli, confident, almost smug. But of course. Every human is born with mana. Mana is connected to one's blood. Thus, if they let a couple drops of blood fall into holy water, which can measure mana, we'll be able to verify their relationship through its reaction. Sister Ovli, continuing, a sly smile playing on her lips. However, I don't have any extra holy water with me, so I'll have to ask the temple. I need an answer from you before I can ask my superiors for their approval. What do you say? Would you like to find your family, good sister? Sister Ovli, leaning in, her voice becoming persuasive. After we run the mana test, we'll be able to tell conclusively whether he's your father or not. Sister Ovli mocking, her words biting. She won't want to. After all, who would want to go along with a beggar like that? She'll avoid seeming so heartless in front of all these people, though. Maybe I can help her make a decision faster. I'm sure Duke Schuetz also wants you to find your real family. Ellie, thinking to herself, her mind racing. How did this priest know that I'm living at Duke Schuetz's castle? We took Sir Jarrett's carriage to come to Pelin district today. She shouldn't have been able to connect me with the Schuetz family like that, unless she approached me with ulterior motives. But that makes even less sense. Ellie, thinking deeper, suspicion rising. Duke Schuetz and the temple have had a rocky relationship for a long time. This was because the temple used his status as an excuse to meddle in House Schuetz's affairs. But now this priest wants to help a child under the Duke's protection? I have to figure out what's going on here. Ellie speaking up, her voice calm but filled with an underlying edge. Sister Ovli, since you mentioned his grace, there's something I have to say about him. Ellie pausing, her gaze steady. He's fallen ill. Sister Ovli, her tone shifting to a mild curiosity, though still guarded. Is that so? Ellie quietly but firm. I'm not sure why, but he says it's because the priest stopped visiting him. If it's not possible for you to come and purify him, then can you give me some holy water so I can deliver it to his grace? Sister Ovli, surprised, her thoughts racing, clearly thrown off by the unexpected request. What? Ellie in a calm but confident tone, her eyes locking with Ovli's. I want to repay his grace for his kindness, but I have nothing with which to do so. Sister Ovli, fuming inwardly, her smile turning to a tight grimace as she realizes Ellie's challenge. Well, I was just going to make those two take the paternity test, but now the tables have turned. I can't believe this brat. Ellie unfazed, her voice dripping with sweetness, as if testing Ovli's resolve. Is it too hard a request, Sister Ovli? Jared Amanta, sighing, almost reluctantly, his voice wavering as he tries to gauge the situation. Miss Ellie. Ellie, her tone shifting to something more alluring yet pointed. Kind and virtuous priest, think you can turn me down? The tension hangs in the air as Ovli stands frozen, her internal conflict evident. She had thought she controlled the situation, but Ellie's words and the unspoken stakes have made her question her next move. The game has changed, and Ellie, despite her youth, has proven she's more than capable of manipulating the rules in her favor. Ellie smiling, but there's an underlying tension in her voice. I'm really fine, director gently yet with concern. Miss Ellie, even if you claim that you're fine, you still got hurt. Always tell us if you're injured, no matter how insignificant it may seem. Ellie, thinking, feeling a mix of guilt and confusion. Everyone here really seems to care about me, just like Baroness Amanta. I'm the daughter of a thief, and I'm just here as the female lead's temporary replacement. I'll be gone soon enough. Why is that? Now's not the time to be getting emotional. Ellie, focusing, wiping away the stray thought. I need to sort out everything that happened today. Ellie, with a decisive, almost serious tone, as if readying herself for a conversation she's been avoiding. There's something I need to tell you, Roina. The scene shifts from the physical discomfort Ellie endured to her emotional conflict. Despite her ability to brush off her injuries, Ellie is confronted with the deeper issue of her uncertain place in the world. She's not just a replacement for someone else's life. There are people around her who care, people who expect things from her, and an obligation she has yet to fully understand. As she prepares to face Roina, who may hold the key to Ellie's future, Ellie's resolve hardens. She must confront the reality of her situation, and the weight of what she's learned so far. Maid director, shocked, trying to process the news. What? Your real father? Ellie, with uncertainty. I'm still not certain it's him. The priest is coming in 4 days to test whether it's true or not. Maid director, concerned, trying to plan. What should we do? To think that something like this would happen when both the Baron and his grace are away. On paper, you still don't have a legal guardian, so it'd be hard to reject the priest's proposal. All orphans in the Empire receive protection from the temple, after all. But first things first, I'll send an urgent letter to His Grace. Don't worry about a thing, Miss Ellie. Just focus on getting enough rest. Ellie nodding, but her mind still racing. All right. Thank you. Maid director, smiling, trying to comfort her. It's my pleasure. This is what I'm here for. Everyone follow me out. Miss Ellie will probably need time to think. Let's not make it worse. As the others leave, Ellie turns to Damian, who's still shaken by the earlier events. Ellie, gently, you must be tired, Damian. Let's head off to bed. Damian, distracted, his voice full of guilt. I'm not tired at all. Ellie, realizing Damian is still upset. Right. You must have been scared. Don't worry. That kind of thing won't happen again. Damian, hesitating, voice quiet. It's not about that. I just feel guilty. Ellie, trying to comfort him. If I hadn't let go of your hand, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. Damian, low, guilty. It's all my fault. Ellie, firmly, lifting his spirits. Damian! You have nothing to be sorry for. But seeing you feel so guilty makes me sad. There's nothing you could have done to prevent what happened earlier. Still, what if I let go of your hand and you got hurt? Then would that be my fault? Damian, shaking his head quickly. No, Ellie, smiling softly. See? It was just an accident. It wasn't anyone's fault. I wish you wouldn't blame yourself. It would upset His Grace, too. Ellie, thinking of her own worries. Though it upsets me most of all, of course. Ellie, deciding to shift the mood, trying to make Damian feel better. You shouldn't feel sorry, Damian. It's my fault, after all. None of these things happened in the original story. I'm the reason why things are going awry. I'll do whatever it takes to fix everything, so that I don't inconvenience anyone. Ellie, brightening up with a playful smile. I think I'd like to have some hot cocoa, Damian. Damian, eyes widening, curious. Hot cocoa? Ellie, grinning mischievously. Yeah. They won't let me have it because I've been eating too many sweets lately. Do you think you could sneak out a cup and bring it to me? Damian, already eager to help, a bit of his old spirit returning. Of course. I'll be right back. As Damian leaves, Ellie's thoughts continue to race. She wonders how much the temple really knows about her and her past. The young priest's knowledge of her identity unsettles her, but she can't help but wonder how much the temple truly understands, or if they have any idea about her mother. She realizes the stakes are higher than she first thought, and she's not sure who to trust anymore. Her mind races as she considers the best course of action. Ellie, thinking to herself, if that young priest knows who I am, then that means the temple probably does too. Does she know about my mom? No, if she did, then the Emperor would have found out by now. And there's no way he'd keep so quiet. So it's safe to say they don't know my identity yet. Then how much does the temple really know about me? I should throw some bait and see. I can't send it with an existing noble family's seal, so I'd better fix it before it dries. The scene builds with Ellie's inner conflict and the growing tension around her. She's not just a replacement anymore. She's part of something much larger, and she must figure out who's pulling the strings. Damian, entering the room with a small smile, carrying the cocoa. Ellie, I brought the hot cocoa. The servants didn't see you, right? Ellie, grinning, genuinely appreciative. Wow, thank you. I really appreciate it. Damian, looking at her with a hopeful smile. How is it, Ellie? Ellie, sipping the cocoa, her heart a little lighter. Delicious. Thank you, Damian. Damian, offering, shyly. Sure. Do you want to try some too? Ellie, gently warning. Be careful. It's hot. As the tension eases between them, Ellie can't help but feel the weight of her thoughts. The danger surrounding her identity, the uncertainty of her past, and the way things are rapidly shifting. But for now, as she enjoys the warmth of the cocoa and the quiet comfort of the moment, Ellie realizes she's not facing this alone. Ellie, thinking to herself, this is the first time I've been here since I entered the temple. Schuetz Castle. It won't be long until this place becomes mine.